When truth feels like a lie, have you ever felt it? That strange tug inside you when something you know is true just doesn't feel right. Like a puzzle piece that fits, but the picture still looks off. It's a weird feeling, isn't it? When facts line up one way, but your gut, your past experiences tell you something else. This isn't about lying. It's about how sometimes the honest truth can feel like it's trying to trick you. For a long time, people have wrestled with this idea. Think about thinkers from ancient times. They wondered if what we see and touch is truly real, or just a shadow. They asked big questions. Is the world really as it appears? Or are our minds playing tricks? It was a struggle to separate what felt obvious from what was actually provable. They learned that sometimes what seems clear can be surprisingly misleading. Take the sun. Every day, it seems to rise in the east and set in the west, moving across this sky. It really feels like the sun is circling the earth, doesn't it? Our eyes tell us that story. For thousands of years, almost everyone believed it. It was the truth based on what they saw. But then, scientists figured out the real story. The earth is actually spinning and orbiting the sun. That truth, that the earth is moving through space, can still feel strange, even illogical, when you just look up. Our feelings clash with scientific facts, and here's the thing. Sometimes, the deepest truths ask us to let go of what we thought we knew. They ask us to trust something bigger than our immediate feelings. It can be uncomfortable, like standing on shifting ground, but maybe that feeling of unease is just our minds stretching, making room for new ways of seeing the world. It's a quiet reminder that understanding isn't always easy, but it's always worth exploring. Kindness that causes pain. Can kindness, pure and warm, ever cast a shadow of pain? It feels like a strange question, right? We usually think of kindness as something only good, like a gentle hand or a comforting word. But sometimes, even the most caring actions can, without us meaning to, create difficulties or prevent someone from growing stronger. Think about it like this. Ancient stories often tell of heroes who face tough challenges. These challenges make them brave and wise. If someone had always protected them, always made things easy, would they have learned those vital lessons? It's a quiet idea that sometimes the most loving thing we can do is allow for struggle, for the hard parts, so others can find their own strength. Here's what I mean. Imagine a parent who loves their child deeply. This parent might always step in to solve every problem for their child. They might complete homework when it's too hard, or immediately fix every scraped knee, even small ones. Their heart is full of kindness, wanting to shield their child from any trouble. But what happens then? That child might not learn how to handle their own homework challenges, or how to cope with a little discomfort. They might miss out on building their own resilience, like a tree that never feels the wind, and so never grows strong roots. So, here's the thing about kindness. It's not just about what feels good right now. It's also about what helps someone. In the long run, it's about a gentle wisdom that looks beyond the present moment. True kindness often means knowing when to offer a hand, and when to bravely step back, trusting in another's path to growth. It's a tender balance, a quiet act of faith in each other. Rules that break fair play. Have you ever played a game where the rules, somehow, didn't feel quite right? Like they were built to favor one side, even if everyone was supposed to be playing fair? That feeling, that little knot in your stomach, touches on something deep. It's about rules that claim to be fair, but quietly twist fairness itself. These are the ethical rules that, even with good intentions, can create unfairness. They promise a level playing field but might secretly build hidden hills for some, and valleys for others. Think about history, even really old stories. People have always searched for justice. Ancient thinkers, like those in Greece, spent a lot of time talking about what fairness truly means. They knew it wasn't just about following rules, it was about the spirit behind them. A rule might sound good on paper, but if it doesn't lead to true balance for everyone, is it truly fair? Sometimes, a rule meant to create order can accidentally create an unfair advantage or disadvantage, just because of how it's set up in the real world. Here's an example. Imagine a school policy that says everyone gets one chance to retry a failed assignment. Sounds fair, right? One chance for all. But what if some students have parents who can afford tutors or quiet homes to study in? Others might be working jobs after school or caring for younger siblings in a crowded apartment. The rule itself is equal, but the actual playing field isn't. The rule, though equal on paper, doesn't account for the different lives. It's like saying everyone gets the same size shoe, even if their feet are different. The rule is the same, but it doesn't fit everyone fairly. So, when we talk about rules that break fair play, it's about looking past the simple words. It's about feeling into the ripple effect of a rule, how it lands on different lives. It reminds us to always ask, does this rule truly lift everyone, or does it, quietly, trip some people up? It's a quiet call to look with our hearts, not just our eyes, at the rules that guide our world. Freedom's golden cage. Have you ever truly thought about what it means to be free? We often dream of having no limits, no rules, just endless possibilities stretched out before us. It sounds amazing, right? Pure freedom. But sometimes, that very idea can be like a golden cage. It's not a cage made of iron bars, but one woven from shiny, desirable things. Too many choices, too many paths, too much openness. It can be a cage nonetheless. Imagine standing in a giant store where you can pick anything you want, without any budget or time limit. At first, it's exciting, but then it can quickly become overwhelming, confusing. You might feel paralyzed, unable to choose, because every choice means not choosing something else. The weight of all possibilities can feel heavier than any clear restriction. For a very long time, wise thinkers from history have looked at this idea. They saw that complete freedom, without any kind of boundary or agreement, often led to chaos, not true liberty. They wondered if rules and guidelines aren't just about limiting us, but about building a clear space where we can truly move and create. These are like guide ropes that help us navigate life's big ocean without getting lost or crashing into each other. Think about a school hallway. If everyone was perfectly free to run any direction they wanted, at any speed, what would happen? It would be a messy, maybe even dangerous, tangle. But with simple rules, walk on the right, keep moving, suddenly, everyone can get where they need to go, easily and safely. The rule doesn't take away your freedom to move. It actually allows everyone's movement to flow. So the golden cage reminds us that true freedom might not be about having no limits at all. Instead, it could be about finding the right kinds of boundaries, ones that give us shape, direction, and purpose. It's about discovering that sometimes a small fence helps us see the wide open field and lets us truly run within it, rather than just wander aimlessly. Saving one, losing many asterisk saving one. Losing many asterisk. Have you ever faced a choice where helping one person meant someone else might miss out? It's a tough spot, right? This is a really deep idea in life. Sometimes, to save a single life, or to help one small group, we might have to let go of helping a larger number of people. It can feel backwards, maybe even unfair. People have thought about problems like this for a long time. Imagine a small village during a tough winter. There's only enough special medicine left to help either one very sick person who needs a lot of it, or to give a little bit to 10 people who are not as sick but would still feel much better. Which do you choose? This kind of choice, where a decision helps some but might not help others, has been debated for centuries. There's no easy answer. Here's a way to think about it closer to home. Imagine your class is planning a special project. You only have enough art supplies for one really big, amazing mural that just a few talented artists will work on. Or, you could buy smaller, basic supplies so every student in the class can make their own individual drawing. Both choices are good. They just lead to very different outcomes. One helps a few greatly. The other helps many a little. It shows us that life doesn't always give us perfect solutions. It gives us choices that can weigh heavy on our hearts. When we choose to save one, or help a few, it's not because we don't care about the many. It's because chances or resources are limited. And these choices, while difficult, teach us about the complex dance between what feels fair and what is possible in the real world. It's okay to feel conflicted in these moments. Justice's blind eye. Have you ever thought about what fairness truly means? We often picture justice as a figure, a woman, blindfolded. This isn't because she can't see, but because she chooses not to see who stands before her. The blindfold is meant to represent impartiality. It suggests that rich or poor, famous or unknown, everyone is equal in the eyes of the law. They should all be treated the same, without prejudice or favor. This idea goes way back, even to ancient times. Think of the scales she holds, balancing arguments, trying to weigh out what is right. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? That The law doesn't care about your family, your popularity, or how much money you have. It only cares about the truth of the situation. But here's the thing. Sometimes, being blind can also mean missing important details. Imagine a referee in a sports game. They're supposed to be blind to which team they like best, right? But what if one player has a disability that makes them move slower, and the referee's blindness to this unique situation causes them to unfairly penalize that player for being late to a play? Or what if a school rule, applied strictly to everyone, doesn't consider that one student has a serious family emergency and can't turn in their homework on time? In these moments, being truly blind to differences can make fairness feel complicated. It's a deep puzzle. Is true justice about treating everyone exactly the same, no matter what? Or is it about seeing everyone's unique story and trying to understand their individual circumstances, even if that makes decisions harder? It makes you wonder, to be truly fair, does justice need to open one eye, just a little, to see the world as it truly is, with all its messy, unique details? Mercy's hard choice. Have you ever faced a moment where being kind felt really complicated? Like you wanted to help someone, but doing so might create a different kind of problem. This quiet tug-of-war is at the heart of mercy's hard choice. Mercy, simply put, is kindness or forgiveness, even when someone might not fully deserve it. It's choosing understanding over strict rules. Think of a teacher who lets a student turn in late homework because their family had a sudden emergency. Even though the rule says no late work, that's mercy. It often feels right, a good, human thing. But here's where the ethical contradiction quietly walks in. For centuries, across many cultures and old stories, people have wrestled with this question. Ancient thinkers debated, what's more important, strict justice or gentle mercy? If we always follow rules exactly, it feels fair for everyone. But sometimes, life isn't fair, and people need a second chance, a compassionate pause. Yet, if you extend that break to one person, does it make things less fair for everyone else who diligently followed the rules? It's a delicate balance. Imagine this: you're working on a group project, and one person consistently doesn't do their part. They might have a good heart, maybe they're just overwhelmed, and you feel empathy. So, out of kindness, you decide to quietly do their work for them. That's an act of mercy. You're helping them, preventing them from failing. But consider the rest of your group. They worked hard, and now this person gets the same good grade without earning it. Is that truly fair to them? Your kindness to one person, in this scenario, accidentally creates an unfair situation for others. So, how do we navigate such tangled paths? There's no easy answer, no simple right side. This isn't about picking good over bad. It's about understanding that sometimes, showing true compassion isn't simple. It forces us to think carefully about fairness, responsibility, and the greater good. It reminds us that even the purest intentions can ripple outwards, gently prompting us to pause and truly reflect on the path we choose. Promises whispered, futures changed. Have you ever whispered a promise, maybe to a friend, or just to yourself? A small breath, a few quiet words. Here's the thing: those promises, even forgotten, can quietly shape everything after. They hold strange, deep power. When someone makes a promise, they're drawing a line from today into tomorrow. They're saying, this is what I will do. This is how things will be. Long ago, a person's word was their bond. Promises were like invisible contracts, holding groups of people together. Breaking one wasn't just a mistake. It could unravel trust, or cause big problems. The idea was simple. A promise made is a future chosen. But what happens when promises collide? What if keeping one means breaking another? Imagine you promised your best friend you'd help them study for a big test on Saturday. Then, your grandparents suddenly visit that exact Saturday. You promised them time, long ago. Two good promises, both important, now pull you in different directions. Which future do you choose? Which promise holds more weight? This isn't about finding the right answer. It's about seeing how promises, meant to build trust, can sometimes create a tangled web of choices. They show us how complicated our world can be. Each promise is a tiny thread, weaving into the tapestry of our lives. Sometimes, those threads knot up, asking us to think deeply about what truly matters. How much do these unspoken pacts guide our path, even when we don't realize it? What happens when promises meant to do good accidentally lead to tough choices? Being quiet, speaking loud. Have you ever felt the power of words? or the quiet strength of silence. It's strange, isn't it, how both can be so strong. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just be quiet. It shows respect, or maybe it helps you really listen. But then, there are moments when not speaking up feels deeply wrong, when silence might actually hurt. Here's the thing, knowing when to hold your tongue and when to use your voice is one of life's deepest, most puzzling challenges. People have thought about this for ages. Ancient thinkers valued inner calm, not letting every thought escape their lips. They said true strength was often found in stillness. But then, brave people like Martin Luther King Jr. spoke out against injustice. His powerful words changed the world. He taught us that sometimes, silence in the face of wrong is wrong itself. So, one rule says be quiet, and another says speak loud, and both feel right in different moments. Imagine a quiet pond. When you watch it silently, you see dragonflies dart, fish swim just below the surface. You notice tiny ripples. That's like being quiet, seeing small, important details you might miss when things are noisy. But if a rock hits the water, the pond needs a splash, a loud ripple, to warn the fish. You need both the calm and the clear warning, depending on what's happening. So, it's not about picking one forever. It's about feeling the moment, sensing what it needs. Is this a time for deep listening, for letting others speak, for simply being present? Or is this a time when your voice, even if it feels small, needs to be heard? The wisdom isn't in always being loud or always being quiet. It's in learning to feel which one the world needs from you right now. It's a quiet understanding that grows inside you, like a deep breath before you choose to act. The right wrong thing to do. Have you ever done something that felt a little off, even though you knew deep down it was for the best? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like your mind and your heart are having two different conversations about the same choice. This is the heart of what we call the right wrong thing to do. It's about those moments when following a strict rule might actually cause more harm than good, or when breaking a small rule opens the door to something truly wonderful. For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with these tricky situations. They've asked, is an action good because it follows a rule, or is it good because of the result it creates? Sometimes, the consequences matter most. This idea, that the outcome defines what's good, has been part of human thought for ages. Think about this. Imagine your best friend tells you a silly, harmless secret, making you promise never to tell anyone. Then, a new kid at school is feeling really lonely. Sharing that secret could make them laugh and feel included, connecting them to your friend group. Do you keep the promise, potentially leaving the new kid out? Or do you tell the secret, breaking your word, but bringing joy and connection? Here's the thing. Both choices feel right in some ways, and wrong in others. Life is full of these muddy waters. There aren't always clear, straight paths. Sometimes, doing what feels right on paper might not be the most caring or helpful thing to do in that moment. And sometimes, a choice that feels a little wrong can lead to the deepest kindness. It reminds us that empathy and wisdom often mean looking beyond just the rules and truly seeing the hearts involved. We learn to sit with that gentle, quiet tension, understanding that true ethics often live in the complicated spaces between black and white. Helping others, hurting self. Have you ever thought about how helping someone can sometimes ask a lot from you? It's a gentle question. We often feel a deep pull to be there for others, to lift them up, to share what we have. That feeling is beautiful. It speaks to the best parts of us, the part that connects and cares. But here's the thing. Sometimes, in our earnest desire to help, we might stretch ourselves too thin, like a rubber band pulled almost to its breaking point. This isn't selfish. It's realizing even the kindest heart has a natural limit. This idea isn't new. Long ago, wise people talked about balance. It's like a quiet river. If it overflows its banks constantly, it can erode its own shores. They taught that true strength comes from finding a middle path, a way to give without emptying your own well. So, acknowledging your own needs isn't selfish, it's just being wise. It's about knowing your own capacity to give. Think of a tree. It gives its shade, its fruit, its leaves for the air we breathe. But a tree also needs deep roots to pull in water for itself. If it poured all its energy into one giant fruit, without tending to its own branches, the tree might weaken. It's the same with us. If we constantly pour out our energy, our time, our emotional strength, without refilling our own spirit, we can feel tired, worn down, or even lost. So, The gentle contradiction is this: while helping others brings joy, we must also nurture ourselves. It's about being a strong, healthy helper. Our kindness is a powerful light, but even a light needs its own fuel to keep shining. This quiet wisdom means knowing that taking care of yourself allows you to truly, sustainably care for others. Secrets kept, lives hidden. Have you ever wondered if keeping a secret can actually be a good thing? It sounds strange, right? We often learn that honesty is always best. But here's the thing: sometimes the choice to hide something, to keep a part of yourself private, comes from a really deep place. It's not about lying, it's about protecting. Think about it this way: some people throughout history, like those who lived under strict rules, had to keep their true beliefs or feelings hidden. Maybe they believed in something different than everyone else around them, or maybe they loved someone society said they shouldn't. To show their real selves would mean danger or being shut out. So, they created a kind of inner world, a secret garden just for them. Their outward life was one thing, but their true heart, their true mind, lived in hiding. This wasn't about being dishonest in a bad way. It was about survival, about holding on to a piece of their spirit. It's like how a plant might keep its most important water deep in its roots during a long, dry summer. On the outside, it looks like any other plant, maybe even a little tired. But inside, it's holding on to something vital, something that will help it survive until the rains come. That hidden water isn't a lie. It's a necessary part of its life. For us, a secret might be a quiet dream, a fear we haven't shared, or a part of our identity we're still figuring out. It's a part of our story that isn't ready for the world. Sometimes, the most ethical thing we can do is give ourselves the space to hold on to these hidden parts until we feel strong enough, or the world feels safe enough, for them to finally breathe in the open. Keeping a secret can be an act of quiet courage, a way to guard the tender parts of our journey. Protecting so much, letting go little. Have you ever held on to something so tightly? A favorite old toy or a worn-out blanket, even when you knew it was time to let it go. Sometimes, our hearts want to protect everything, every memory, every comfort, every idea. But here's the thing: when we try to protect so much, we often find it almost impossible to let go of anything, even what truly needs to pass. Think about it like this: ancient thinkers long ago used to talk about the idea of balance. They understood that life is always changing. They saw that sometimes clinging too tightly to what was prevents what could be. It's like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. You can try, but the ocean will always move forward. And if you spend all your energy protecting something that is meant to change, you might miss the beauty of its new form. Imagine an old tree in autumn. Its leaves turn golden, then red, then brown. If that tree tried with all its might to protect every single leaf, holding on to them even as they withered, what would happen? It would be stuck. It couldn't grow new buds. It couldn't prepare for spring. For the tree to truly live, to thrive, it must let go. It must trust the wind and the earth to carry those leaves away. It's the same with us. Our ethical rules sometimes tell us to protect, to preserve, to guard. But if we protect too much, without understanding when to release, we might create a rule that traps us. We might miss the quiet wisdom of acceptance, the gentle strength found in letting things naturally unfold. True protection, sometimes, is knowing when to open your hand and allow things to find their own path. It's a soft, quiet kind of courage. Peace that isn't quiet. Have you ever thought about peace? Most times, we picture it as super quiet, like a still lake at dawn, or a silent room where everything feels calm. But what if real peace isn't always silent? What if it's actually active? What if sometimes, to find true peace, you have to make a little noise, or work really hard? Here's the thing: sometimes, peace isn't just the absence of fighting, it's the presence of justice, fairness, and understanding. Think about big moments in history. People like Martin Luther King Jr. fought for peace, but their actions weren't quiet. They marched, they spoke up, they made their voices heard. They knew that true peace, the kind where everyone is treated fairly, wouldn't just happen by staying silent. It took courage and constant effort to push for change. It was a struggle, yes, but it was a struggle for peace. Imagine your body. When it's healthy, it feels peaceful, right? But inside, it's buzzing with activity. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, cells are working all the time. It's not silent. It's a busy working system, and that's how it stays healthy and at peace. Or think about a friendship. If there's a problem, just staying quiet won't fix it. You have to talk it out, maybe have a tough conversation. That conversation isn't quiet, but it can lead to a stronger, more peaceful friendship. It's like finding a solution to a puzzle. It takes effort, a bit of struggle, but the feeling of accomplishment, of things fitting together, that's a kind of peace. So, maybe peace isn't always a soft whisper. Sometimes, it's a strong voice standing up for what's right. Sometimes, it's the hum of work being done to make things better. It's a peace that's alive, full of movement and purpose. And that kind of peace, the one you work for, can be the most real and lasting kind of all. It's a deep calm that comes from active harmony, not just quiet. Gifts that ask for too much. Have you ever gotten a gift that felt a little heavy? Not heavy because it was big, but heavy in a different way. Like it came with a quiet whisper of expectation. A true gift, we often think, should be freely given. It's meant to bring joy, not a sense of debt. But here's the thing, sometimes, a gift can carry an invisible string, pulling you towards an unspoken promise. Imagine a contradiction, something meant to be free, but it actually ties you down. Long ago, people sometimes used gifts, not just for kindness, but to create power. A king might give a grand present to another leader, not just as a friendly gesture, but to remind them who held more wealth, or to make them feel obligated to help later. It was a way to weave invisible webs of loyalty or service. These gifts weren't truly gifts of pure generosity. They were more like complicated trades. Think about a friend who gives you a really cool, expensive video game. You're super excited, but then, every time you want to hang out with other people, your friend reminds you, "Hey, remember that game I bought you? We should play it, just the two of us." Or they hint that you owe them big favors because of it. Suddenly, that cool game doesn't feel so cool. It feels less like a present and more like a reminder of something you now have to do. The joy of the gift gets a little lost, replaced by a quiet pressure. It takes away your freedom to choose. So, a gift can sometimes contradict its very nature. It promises freedom and joy, but delivers a hidden burden. True generosity, though, is like a soft rain falling. It nourishes the ground and asks for nothing back. It just is. And that kind of giving, the kind that leaves no hidden strings, is the most beautiful gift of all. Trust's broken reflection. Have you ever looked at your own reflection in a broken mirror? The image is there, but it's split into pieces, each shard showing you something slightly different. That's a bit like how trust can feel sometimes. We're taught to trust others, to believe in their word. It sounds like a clear, solid rule, but here's the thing. Sometimes, the very idea of trust can seem to contradict itself, leaving us with a broken reflection of what we expected. For a long time, people saw trust as something absolute. Think about promises in older times. A person's word was like a solid brick. If he gave your word, it was meant to be unbreakable. Societies were built on this idea. You trust your neighbor to help, your leaders to be fair. It was about creating a sense of safety, knowing what to expect. This belief helped communities grow strong, because everyone mostly agreed on this simple, ethical rule. Keep your word, and trust those who keep theirs. But then, life happens. Imagine you have a friend who tells you to always trust them. They say, "I will never tell your secrets, no matter what." You believe them, you open up, but one day, you hear that same secret mentioned by someone else. Your friend, who insisted you trust them completely, broke that promise. The rule was always trust, but the experience felt different. You trusted fully, yet that trust was shattered. It's like the mirror of trust you held up suddenly cracked, showing you a confusing, splintered image of what you thought was true. So, what do we do when trust feels like this? It's a deep, often painful question. Maybe trust isn't a simple, unbroken picture. Perhaps it's learning that even good people can make mistakes, or that sometimes keeping a promise to one person might accidentally break a trust with another. It's about understanding that trust can be fragile and complex, and that its reflection in our lives can sometimes appear broken, showing us many different truths at once. Sharing all, owning none. Sharing all, owning none. Have you ever truly thought about what it means to own something? Like your favorite jacket or a drawing you made. It feels special, doesn't it? It's yours. But imagine if owning didn't exist. What if everything we had, everything we used, was simply shared? This is a deep thought. Sharing all, owning none. It sounds peaceful, a world without squabbles, but it's a rule that bumps right into itself. If you own nothing, what are you? Sharing. And if everything is always shared, who truly feels responsible? This idea points to a world without personal property. What you use today, another uses tomorrow. It asks you to let go of mine. People have considered this for ages. Ancient groups and early thinkers imagined communities where belongings were common. The land was for all. Tools belonged to the tribe, not one person. It was about surviving. Together, they believed that when everyone contributed, the group did better. But even then, small personal items might have felt yours in a quiet way. Think about a public park. No one owns the benches or swings, but everyone can use them. We all share its benefit, enjoying its space. You don't own the sunshine or the grass under your feet, but you experience it fully. It's there for everyone, but who cares for it if no one owns it? This asks for a different kind of shared responsibility. So this idea asks us to see a world where who we are isn't tied to what we have. It challenges us to find value in connection and shared experiences. It's a quiet thought about belonging without needing to claim. It asks if real freedom comes from having everything or from needing nothing. And that's a thought worth holding softly. Strength in letting go. Have you ever held on to an idea or a rule so tightly, but then it started to feel complicated, maybe even contradictory? It's a strange thought, but sometimes true strength isn't about holding on harder. It's about knowing when to let go. This isn't giving up. It's a quiet strength. When we cling to old beliefs, especially if they clash or stop making sense, we can get stuck. Wise people, long ago, understood this. They knew life changes, and peace often comes from accepting that. It means being okay with changing your mind, or letting go of an old thought. Fighting what's shifting can be harder than flowing with it. Imagine a river, always moving forward. What if a huge rock falls into its path? The river doesn't smash through or get angry. Instead, it gently flows around. It adapts, changing its path. It lets go of the straight line and finds a new way. The river doesn't lose strength. It just lets go of the rigid route to keep flowing. Think about holding on to a broken toy. You keep it, but it's just taking up space. Letting it go creates room for something new that actually works. In the same way, letting go of old ideas or rules that cause confusion clears your mind. It frees you to see things in a new, clearer way. So, real strength often comes from this gentle release. It's about understanding that beliefs can grow and change. Sometimes, peace arrives when we let go of needing to always be perfectly right, finding new understanding, like the river finds its path. Weakness in holding on. Have you ever held on to something so tightly? A favorite toy, a belief, even when it felt wrong or stopped working? Like clenching your fist around sand. The harder you hold, the more it slips away. Here's the thing. Sometimes, our greatest weakness isn't letting go, but the stubborn act of holding on to much. Think about rules. We make them to guide us, to keep things fair and safe. But what happens when a rule, meant for good, starts to cause harm, or blocks a greater good? Imagine an old map. It once showed the way perfectly, but now, the river has changed. New roads are there. Holding on to that old map, refusing to see the new landscape, means you'll get lost. That's a kind of weakness, being stuck, unable to adapt. Long ago, the Greek thinker Heraclitus wrestled with this. He said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." He saw that everything flows, everything changes. Life isn't still. So, if everything changes, can our rules stay perfectly still forever? It's a question about how we grow. Consider a scientist's strong idea. They've always believed it. But then, new information comes in, new observations. If they stubbornly hold on to their first idea, ignoring the fresh evidence, they stop learning. They might miss a huge discovery. That rigidness, that refusal to let go of an old theory, stops new understanding. It's not about being wrong. It's about being closed off. So, here's what I found. True strength isn't always in holding fast. It's in the quiet courage to open your hand, to look again, to question, and even to gently let go. It means growth often comes from releasing what once served us, making room for what serves us better now. It's a soft power, this ability to release and flow, like water finding its way, standing up, falling down. Have you ever tried to do something good, something truly right, and then realized it accidentally caused a different problem? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This idea, standing up, falling down, is about how our best intentions, when we try to do the right thing, can sometimes lead to unexpected bumps. It's like when you're really trying to balance on one foot. You might get steady for a moment, but then you wobble, or your other foot touches the ground. The goal was to stand firm, but the act of doing it makes you almost fall. Thinkers, for centuries, have puzzled over this. They've asked, can one action always be perfectly good without any downsides? It turns out, that's incredibly hard. What helps one person might accidentally create a challenge for another, or what seems like the right rule in one situation might clash with another equally good rule in a different moment. It's not that the first rule is bad. It's just that life isn't a simple instruction manual. Here's an example. Imagine you have a friend who always tells the truth, no matter what. That's a good quality, right? Standing up for honesty is important. But what if that friend tells a blunt truth that deeply hurts someone, even if it wasn't their intention? They stood up for the rule of truth, but perhaps they fell down on the rule of kindness or consideration for feelings. It doesn't mean honesty is wrong. It means these moral ideas can sometimes push against each other. So, this idea isn't about being afraid to do good. It's about understanding that our choices, even the good ones, have layers. It reminds us to be thoughtful, to see the bigger picture, and to remember that being truly ethical means more than just following one rule. It means trying to understand how all the rules and all the people fit together. It's a messy, beautiful challenge that asks us to keep learning and keep trying, even when we wobble a little. Building walls, opening doors. Have you ever stopped to think about how we protect ourselves? We put up fences around our homes. We create rules in our schools and families. These actions, in a way, are like building walls. They're meant to keep certain things out, or to keep others safely inside. But here's the curious part. Sometimes, building a wall isn't just about blocking. Often, that very wall helps something new begin, or lets a different kind of connection form. It's a strange thought, isn't it, that closing one path can open another? Think about cities from long ago. They built huge, strong walls. On the surface, those walls seemed about fear, about keeping enemies away. But inside, people found safety. They could live in peace, share ideas, trade goods, and build communities. The wall, by keeping out danger, created a safe space. And that space became a place where new friendships and deep learning could truly grow. So the wall, quietly, opened doors to a whole new way of life. Here's an example you might know. Imagine trying to focus on homework, but your phone keeps buzzing, so you turn it off, or put it away for a while. You're creating a small wall around your focus. You're closing off that distraction. But by doing this, you're opening a door to deeper thinking. You can really understand that tricky math, or truly get lost in a story. That temporary wall lets your mind expand in a different, more important way. Life often works like this. We set boundaries to protect our feelings, or to focus our energy. It might feel like we're shutting something down, but often, we're actually making a calm, safe place for something valuable to grow. It's about finding that delicate balance. When do we draw a line? And when does drawing that line give us the freedom to step into something bigger? It's a quiet dance between holding close and letting flow, between the comfort of a wall and the wide invitation of an open door. Old ways, new truths. Have you ever thought about how what we believe is right or wrong can change over time? It's a bit like looking at an old map. The world on it looks very different from what we know today. Some places aren't there. Rivers are drawn differently. Our ideas about what's good and what's not work in a similar way. For thousands of years, people have tried to figure out how to live together. They made rules based on what they knew. Maybe they thought the sun was a god, or illnesses were a punishment. Their rules grew from those beliefs. So, what seemed fair back then might seem strange or even cruel now. Think about how doctors used to treat sick people, sometimes with methods that would shock us today. They weren't bad people. They just didn't have the scientific knowledge we have now. As we learned more about the human body, about germs, and about medicine, our ideas about what's ethical in healthcare completely changed. It became wrong to use treatments that harmed more than they helped. Here's the thing, new truths, discovered through science or simply through deeper understanding, can make old ways of thinking seem, well, old. It's not about saying people in the past were wrong or bad. It's about recognizing that knowledge grows. We see things differently now. We understand more about the planet, about each other, and about how our actions affect the future. This means we're always on a journey, figuring things out. Our ethical compass is like a living thing, always adjusting, always learning from new information. It reminds us to be open, to question, and to keep looking for better ways to be good, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. Loud voices, silent hearts. Have you ever seen someone speak so loudly about what's right, their words echoing, but wondered what they truly believed deep inside? It's a strange thing, how sometimes our loudest declarations can hide the quietest doubts, or even the opposite truth. This is a subtle kind of contradiction, where the ethical rule we preach with passion doesn't quite match the inner landscape of our thoughts or feelings. Imagine standing on a stage, declaring a grand moral truth for everyone to hear. You might talk about justice or honesty, your voice strong and clear. But what if, in that very moment, a small, still voice within you whispers a different story? Maybe it's a fear, a private doubt, or a tiny selfish desire. That's the difference between a loud voice and a silent heart. This isn't a new idea. Back in ancient Greece, a thinker named Socrates often questioned people who spoke with great confidence. He didn't just listen to their big speeches. He pushed them to look inward, past their bold words, to see if their actions and true beliefs matched up. He felt that real wisdom wasn't about shouting your opinions, but about understanding what you genuinely knew, and what you did single quotes did. Think about a time someone on social media posts something really fiery about a cause they believe in. Maybe they demand complete fairness for everyone. They use strong words and clear rules. But then, in their everyday life, you might notice them being unfair to a classmate for a small advantage, or gossiping about someone behind their back. The loud online voice demands one thing, but the silent heart, in daily moments, acts differently. It's like how a speaker can amplify sound, making it loud, but the actual source of the sound, the speaker itself, might have a different, quieter design. So, here's the thing. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about seeing how easy it is for anyone to project one thing while feeling another. It reminds us to listen not only to the loudest voices around us, but also to the soft, honest whispers of our own hearts. That quiet inner space is often where real understanding and a more honest, ethical path can be found. Knowing everything, understanding nothing. Have you ever known a lot of facts about something, but felt like you didn't truly get it? Like you could list all the planets, their sizes, their moons, but the sheer, vast loneliness of space, the incredible distance between them, that feeling, that deep grasp of what it all means, might still be missing. This is the quiet whisper of an important truth. Sometimes, knowing everything can leave us understanding nothing at all. Knowing is often about collecting information. It's like gathering countless books for a library. You might have every book ever written on every subject. That's an amazing amount of knowledge. But understanding, that's different. Understanding is like reading those books, letting their stories sink deep inside you, feeling the characters' joys and sorrows, seeing how the ideas connect, and how they truly change you. It's not just owning the library. It's like living inside its stories, letting them shape your world. Think about how wise people from long ago, like the Greek philosopher Socrates, talked about knowing. He wasn't famous for having all the answers. Instead, he was known for saying something like, "The only real wisdom is knowing you don't know everything." He meant that true understanding begins when we realize how much more there is to learn, how deep and wide the world truly is, and how small our current knowledge might be. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? Imagine learning to play a musical instrument, like the guitar. You can memorize all the chords, read sheet music perfectly, and know every note on the fretboard. That's knowing. You could play a song note for note, but understanding the music, that's when your fingers glide easily, when you feel the rhythm in your chest, when the melody makes you happy or sad, when you pour your own feelings into the sound. You're not just hitting notes, you're speaking a language without words. And that's the thing. True understanding isn't about storing facts in your brain. It's about letting those facts pass through your heart and soul. It's about connection. When we truly understand, the world becomes richer, more complex, and more beautiful. It's a journey that keeps unfolding, gently inviting us to look deeper, feel more, and connect with the quiet truths that truly matter. It's a soft knowing, an open heart, that helps us see the world not just as a collection of pieces, but as a living, breathing mystery we get to explore. Being fair, feeling unfair. Have you ever felt something was fair on paper, but unfair in your heart? It's strange. We want things to be equal. We want justice. But sometimes, what looks fair from the outside, like everyone getting the same amount, still leaves someone feeling left out or hurt. Our minds might agree it's equal, but our feelings quietly whisper, "This isn't right for me." People have thought about this for a long time. Thinkers like Aristotle, in ancient Greece, saw different kinds of fairness. Sometimes, it meant everyone got the same thing. Other times, it meant giving people what they needed or earned, even if that was different for each person. Real fairness, he knew, isn't always just a simple math problem. It's more than just equal shares. Here's an example. Your teacher divides the class for a project. Everyone gets to pick a job: writing, researching, or presenting. You all have a chance to choose. But what if you really wanted to present, and someone else quickly picked that job before you? On paper, it was fair. Everyone had a choice. But you might still feel a quiet ache inside, a sense of unfairness, because what you most wanted didn't happen. The process was fair, but your feeling wasn't. This feeling, that quiet ache, tells us something important. It reminds us fairness isn't just a simple rule. It's also about how we feel, about what our own experiences teach us. Understanding this difference between what is fair and what feels fair helps us see others more clearly. It opens our hearts to the quiet feelings people carry inside, even when things look balanced on the surface. Growing up, losing wonder. Remember looking at the world when you were really little. Everything felt new, like a secret to discover. A raindrop on a leaf, the way light hit a wall, a bug crawling. It was all amazing. It felt like pure magic. But then, as we grow, something shifts. We learn. We get answers. We find out why the sky is blue, how plants grow, what makes a car move. And that's good, of course. Knowledge is powerful. But here's the thing. Sometimes, when we understand how something works, the simple wonder of it fades a little. The mystery gets solved, and the magic changes. Think about it like this. For a long time, people looked at the night sky and saw gods and stories in the stars. They wondered what those sparkling lights really were. Then, science came along. People like Galileo and later scientists showed us that stars are giant, fiery suns, light years away. We learned about galaxies and nebulae and black holes. And that's incredible knowledge. But for some, that specific, childlike wonder, the pure mystery, shifted. The universe became less about stories and more about giant physics equations. It's like when you learn how a magic trick is done. Before, it was impossible, amazing. After, it's just clever mechanics. The awe you felt might lessen. And this happens with the world, too. We classify things, we label them, we put them into boxes. In our minds, a tree is no longer just a big, old friend with rustling leaves. It's a deciduous organism, or a photosynthesizing structure. And that knowledge is important for biology. But it can make the tree feel a little less magical. So, here's what happens. We trade one kind of wonder for another. We gain understanding, which is its own kind of amazing. But maybe, just maybe, we can also try to hold on to that first, simple awe. To look at things we know, and still let them surprise us. Because even with all our knowledge, the world is still full of impossible, beautiful things, waiting to be seen with fresh eyes. We can learn the science, and still feel the magic. Finding yourself, forgetting others. Have you ever thought about what it truly means to find yourself? It sounds like uncovering a treasure hidden deep inside, right? But what if, in that very personal search, you start to lose sight of something else precious, the people around you? This is a quiet puzzle. We're often told to look inward, to understand our own feelings and dreams, and that journey is vital. But sometimes, when we become totally absorbed in our own world, we might accidentally push others away. We focus so much on me that we start to fade. It's like shining a very bright flashlight only on yourself, and everything else goes dim. For thousands of years, thinkers have pondered this. Ancient Greek philosophers famously said, "Know thyself." This meant understanding your true nature. It's a powerful idea, asking us to be honest with ourselves. Yet, for many older cultures, the group, family, community was just as important, if not more. They believed a true self was found within the community, not apart from it. There's a quiet tension here. Imagine you're practicing hard for a school play. You spend hours perfecting your part. You're so focused on being the best you can be that you might not notice your friends struggling with their lines, or you forget to help set up the stage. You're trying to shine individually, but a play only works when the whole team is seen and supported. Your light is important, but true success often comes from helping others shine too. So, is finding yourself a lonely journey, or is it possible that true self-discovery actually makes us more aware, more connected to others? Perhaps the deepest understanding of who we are also includes seeing how we fit into the bigger picture. Maybe finding yourself truly means understanding your place in the shared human story, where your light can also brighten the path for someone else. The cost of being right. Have you ever stopped to wonder if being right all the time could actually be a heavy burden? It feels good to know you've got the facts, doesn't it? To win an argument, to prove a point. But here's the thing, sometimes the pride of being right can build a wall around us. It can stop us from seeing new ideas or hearing other people's hearts. For a long time, thinkers have talked about this. Way back, wise people like Socrates in ancient Greece believed true wisdom wasn't about knowing everything. Instead, it was about understanding how much you don't know. He said if you always thought you were right, you'd stop asking questions, and when you stop asking questions, you stop learning. So, the cost of always being right can be the chance to grow. It means missing out on deeper understanding. Imagine you and a friend are working on a school project. You're both trying to figure out a historical date. You've checked your book, and you are 100% positive you are right. Your friend, though, found something else. She tries to show you, but you just won't listen. You keep saying, "No, I'm right. The book says it." Even if you are technically correct, what might you lose in that moment? You might miss a chance to work together, to see her point of view, or even to find a different source that explains things better. Your project might suffer, and your friendship could feel a little strained, all because one person held on to being right too tightly. So, maybe real strength isn't in always having the perfect answer. Maybe it's in being okay with not knowing everything. It's about being open enough to change your mind, and that's why it matters. Sometimes, letting go of the need to be right can open up a whole new world of connection and learning. It can make our world a little bit softer, a little bit kinder. Winning so much, losing more. Have you ever won something big? Maybe a game or an argument, but then later, a quiet part of you felt like you'd lost something even bigger. It's a strange feeling, like a victory that leaves a hollow echo. This idea pops up in life more often than we think. Sometimes, when we push hard to win one thing, we accidentally let go of something else that's really important. It's not always obvious. The win is right there, clear as day, but the loss often hides, soft and silent. In the shadows of our choices, people have thought about this for ages. Ancient philosophers, wise men and women from long ago, often warned about chasing only one kind of success. They talked about balance, about how getting too much of one thing, like power or riches, might mean you sacrifice things like peace of mind, honest friendships, or your own sense of what's right. It's like winning a race by tripping someone else. You might get the medal, sure, but what does that victory truly cost? Not to your body, but to your spirit. Think about a student who always wants to be the very best in every class, no matter what it takes. They study endlessly, maybe skip out on hanging with friends, or even get super competitive with classmates, sometimes even putting others down to feel smarter. They might achieve the highest grades, earn all the awards, and appear to win at school. But what did they truly lose? Perhaps the genuine joy of learning, the warmth of real friendships built on trust, or simply time to breathe and be themselves without constant pressure. The win is on the surface, shiny and bright, but a deeper loss, a quiet one, happens inside. It's a trade-off, where the trophy doesn't really make up for what's missing. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is a victory truly sweet if it comes at a price you can't see right away? A price paid in trust, or happiness, or even just your own peaceful mind. Maybe real winning isn't just about what you gain on paper or in public, but also about what you manage to keep whole inside yourself, like your kindness, your connection to others, or your own calm spirit. It's about choosing victories that don't leave your soul feeling poorer. Taking sides, losing friends. Have you ever stood between two people you care about, both needing your understanding, both pulling you in different directions? It's a quiet ache, isn't it? This is where ethical rules can twist themselves into knots. Here's the thing. Sometimes, doing what feels right for one person, or for one belief, means you have to turn away from another. It's not about being bad. It's about the deep, tough reality that our loyalties and convictions can collide, leaving us in a tricky spot. Think about the old stories, even from ancient times. Wise people, philosophers, kings, they all faced these kinds of choices. They saw how a leader, trying to protect their city, might have to make a decision that hurt some families deeply, or how a hero, standing up for what was fair, might lose the trust of old friends. It's an old, heavy question. When you pick a side, are you always losing something precious on the other? Here's an example. Imagine your two best friends are arguing, really upset with each other. One friend comes to you, telling their side of the story, wanting you to agree with them, to be there for them. Then the other friend comes, telling their version, needing the same from you. You like them both. You care about them both. If you agree with one, even silently, the other might feel betrayed. You're just trying to be a good friend, but in this moment, being good to one feels like letting down the other. It feels like you're trying to do right, but someone will end up feeling hurt, and that pain often lands on you too. This feeling, this quiet tug-of-war inside your chest, it isn't a sign that you're failing or doing something wrong. Instead, it's a sign that you are thinking deeply about what it means to truly care, to be human. It teaches us that sometimes the most ethical path isn't a clear, straight line. It's often filled with the quiet weight of what might be lost, no matter which way you step. And understanding that kind of complex feeling, that difficult reality, is a thoughtful step towards understanding yourself and the world a little better. The weight of no choice. Have you ever felt like you had no real choice at all? Not just a hard decision, but truly no choice. It's a strange, heavy feeling, isn't it? We think about right and wrong as things we choose. But what if the situation itself takes away your ability to pick? What then? Long ago, some people believed in fate. They thought their lives were already written, like a story set out before they were born. Philosophers still argue, are we truly free, or are our actions shaped by things we can't control? Things like our family, where we grow up, or just plain luck. This isn't about blame. It's about seeing that sometimes the world can shrink our options down to almost nothing. Here's the thing. Think of a scientist in a lab. They mix two chemicals and know what will happen. The chemicals don't choose to react differently. It's just nature. Sometimes our lives feel like that. Maybe your family has to move for a job. You change schools. You didn't choose to leave friends, but it still happened. Or imagine being asked to keep a secret, where telling hurts one person, but keeping it hurts another. You're stuck, with no good way out, and that's why it matters. When we face moments with no choice, or very few options, it can feel really unfair. It reminds us that being able to choose is a powerful, special gift. It also helps us understand that sometimes people do things not because they want to, but because their options were so limited, they simply had no other path. It makes us pause and maybe be a little more understanding of the tough paths others walk. Speaking up, shutting down. Have you ever felt a tug, a whisper in your heart, telling you to speak your truth, even if it's hard? But then, another voice, just as strong, suggests quiet, suggests silence. This is the strange dance between speaking up and shutting down. We often believe it's always right to share what we know, to be honest. But what if that honesty causes pain? What if it breaks trust? The rule always tell the truth seems good, but what about do no harm? Here's the thing, these two good intentions can bump into each other. For a very long time, people have wrestled with this. They've asked, is truth always kind? Is kindness always truthful? It's not a new problem. Imagine ancient thinkers wondering if it was right to tell a sick friend they were dying, even if it took away their hope, or if it was better to keep a secret that protected someone. They saw that doing the right thing isn't always clear when it comes to words. Think about this. Your friend has a new haircut and they love it, but to you, it looks, well, not great. Your first thought might be to be honest. Dude, what did you do? But then you see their happy face, and that's where the contradiction lives. Do you speak up, risking their feelings, to be honest? Or do you shut down that thought, offering a kind silence or a gentle white lie, to protect their joy. It's about choosing which good thing matters more in that moment. Compassion often weighs against blunt honesty. So, we learn that sometimes the bravest thing isn't to shout the truth, but to carefully consider the impact of our words, or even our silence. It's about understanding ethical rules aren't always a straight line. They bend and twist, asking us to choose not between right and wrong, but between two different kinds of right. It teaches us to pause, to breathe, and to think about the quiet ripple our words might make in the world. The loudness of silence. Have you ever noticed how silence isn't always quiet? It's a strange thought, right? We usually think of silence as just no sound, a peaceful emptiness, but sometimes silence can feel incredibly full. It can hold so much meaning, so much weight, that it almost screams. This is the loudness of silence. Think about it. When you're in a crowded hallway, there's a lot of noise, but if everyone suddenly went quiet, that silence would be deafening. It would grab your attention. It would feel powerful. For a long time, people have understood silence isn't just a break from noise. Ancient thinkers, and even artists today, see it as a space for big thoughts. It's where deep feelings live, where real understanding can grow. It's the pause that makes music meaningful, the space between words that lets their power sink in. Imagine you're having a serious talk with a friend, maybe about something difficult, and then there's a moment of complete silence. No one speaks. That quiet isn't empty. It's filled with all the things that aren't being said, the feelings, the thoughts, the understanding between you two. That silence can be more powerful than any words. Or think about a moment right before a big school play. The auditorium goes completely silent. That silence buzzes with excitement, nerves, and expectation. It's loud with all those feelings. So silence isn't just about what's missing, it's about what's there instead. It's about the feelings, the connections, the big ideas that only come forward when the world quiets down. It reminds us that things can be two things at once: quiet yet full, empty yet loud. And often, these quiet moments are where we truly hear what matters most. Caring so deep, letting go hard. Have you ever loved something or someone so much that the thought of letting go felt impossible? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like your heart is tied to something, and cutting that tie would just ache. Here's the thing about caring so deeply: sometimes it makes letting go incredibly hard, even when it's the right thing to do. This is a quiet contradiction, one where our greatest love can create our greatest challenge. Think about it. We're taught to nurture, to protect, to hold on to what we value, and that's good. But what happens when holding on actually stops something from growing, or stops us from growing? Ancient thinkers from different parts of the world often talked about how attachment, this feeling of clinging, could cause pain. They weren't saying don't care, not at all. They were saying that true caring sometimes means understanding when to offer freedom, when to release. It's about seeing the bigger picture. Imagine you have a tiny seedling, a plant you've cared for every day. You water it, you give it light, but if you keep it in that tiny pot forever, even though you love it, it won't ever become a strong tree. To really thrive, it needs to be transplanted, moved to open ground. Letting it go from your small pot is painful because you put so much into it, but it's also the only way for it to reach its full potential. That act of letting go, even though it feels like a loss, is actually an act of deep care for its future. So, this idea reminds us that true care isn't just about holding tight. It's also about recognizing when to offer space, when to trust, and when to accept change. It's a quiet strength, knowing when to loosen your grip, even when your heart wants to hold on forever. It's a balance, a gentle dance between holding close and letting things be free. Choices that choose you. Have you ever felt like a big decision wasn't truly yours? Like you ended up somewhere, not because you picked it, but because it just happened? This idea, choices that choose you, talks about those moments. It's when our path seems set, not by our hand, but by something bigger. Maybe it's who we are, deep down, or the situations we're in. Sometimes, the current of life just carries us along. We think we're deciding, but our nature or circumstances are picking for us. For a very long time, people have wondered about this. Ancient thinkers wrestled with ideas like fate. They asked, are we truly free to choose, or are things already set, like lines drawn on a map? They saw how some seeds must grow into certain trees, and wondered if humans were similar. Here's the thing. Think about a river. It flows downhill, always. It doesn't choose to go down. It just follows the land. Or think about you. Maybe you're naturally good at drawing, or you just love to build things. You didn't choose that talent. It's just part of you. So, because of it, you naturally spend more time drawing or building. Your natural gift, in a way, chooses some of your next steps. So, it's not about giving up our power. It's about understanding that our lives are a blend. We make real choices, yes, but sometimes what we're meant to do, or who we're meant to be, simply calls to us. It guides us. It's a gentle whisper, a quiet pull. Seeing that can help us feel more at peace with our journey, knowing some paths are part of our unique story. Hope's heavy burden. Ever really thought about hope? We see it as a light, something that lifts us up when life gets tough. But here's the thing, hope can also be a heavy burden. It's like carrying something precious, something you want to protect, but its presence makes you vulnerable. Hope tells us things will get better. It promises a brighter future. That's powerful, right? It makes us work hard, keep trying. But what if that future doesn't come? What if the waiting is so long, so painful, that hope itself feels like a weight? This isn't negative, it's seeing hope from every angle. There's an old Greek myth about Pandora. She opened a jar, and all the world's troubles flew out. Sickness, sorrow, pain. But one thing stayed inside, hope. People wondered why it remained. Was it a comfort, a gift to help humans through hard times? Or was it left to make people suffer longer, always believing things would improve, even when they wouldn't? This story shows hope's tricky side. Think about wanting a spot on the school play. You practice daily, dreaming of that part. Hope pushes you, but you feel tension waiting for the cast list. If you don't get the part, that fall feels huge. The hope you carried, once energy, now feels like what made disappointment sharp. Holding hope can be heavy. So, while hope lifts us, it connects us to an uncertain tomorrow. It asks for courage, for risking disappointment. To truly carry hope means understanding its full weight. It means knowing sometimes the most beautiful thing is also the hardest to hold. Hope is not just a light, it's a profound responsibility. Hope's heavy burden. Ever really thought about hope? We see it as a light, something that lifts us up when life gets tough. But here's the thing, hope can also be a heavy burden. It's like carrying something precious, something you want to protect, but its presence makes you vulnerable. Hope tells us things will get better. It promises a brighter future. That's powerful, right? It makes us work hard, keep trying. But what if that future doesn't come? What if the waiting is so long, so painful, that hope itself feels like a weight? This isn't negative, it's seeing hope from every angle. There's an old Greek myth about Pandora. She opened a jar, and all the world's troubles flew out. Sickness, sorrow, pain. But one thing stayed inside, hope. People wondered why it remained. Was it a comfort, a gift to help humans through hard times? Or was it left to make people suffer longer, always believing things would improve, even when they wouldn't? This story shows hope's tricky side. Think about wanting a spot on the school play. You practice daily, dreaming of that part. Hope pushes you, but you feel tension waiting for the cast list. If you don't get the part, that fall feels huge. The hope you carried, once energy, now feels like what made disappointment sharp. Holding hope can be heavy. So, while hope lifts us, it connects us to an uncertain tomorrow. It asks for courage, for risking disappointment. To truly carry hope means understanding its full weight. It means knowing sometimes the most beautiful thing is also the hardest to hold. Hope is not just a light, it's a profound responsibility. Dreams that tie you down. Have you ever thought about how a dream, something you want so badly, could actually hold you back? It sounds strange, right? Like dreams are supposed to lift us up, not weigh us down. But sometimes, our biggest hopes can become like invisible chains. We set our minds on one perfect future, one idea of success, and we refuse to look anywhere else. This isn't about bad dreams, but about good ones that become too fixed, too rigid. They promise us freedom or happiness, but instead, they limit our choices, our paths. Long ago, some thinkers talked about the idea of striving for a perfect life, or a perfect way of being. They believed that if you reached this ideal, you'd find true peace. But here's the thing, sometimes, chasing that one ideal so hard means you miss out on other good things, other ways to grow. It's like building a beautiful, tall fence around your happiness, thinking it keeps bad things out, but it also keeps new things from coming in. Imagine a student who dreams of getting into one specific, super famous art school. They practice art for hours every day, skipping school events, turning down friends for fun activities, even getting stressed and sick because of the pressure. Their dream, which started as a burst of inspiration, slowly becomes a heavy burden. They can't enjoy art anymore. They can't enjoy life, because the dream is so big and demanding. It ties them to this one narrow path, even when other amazing opportunities pop up that might fit them better. Their freedom to explore, to simply be, gets smaller and smaller. So what if true freedom isn't just about reaching a dream, but also about being open to many paths? Maybe it's about holding our dreams a little loosely, understanding that life shifts, and so do we. It means seeing that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when to let a perfect vision go, allowing ourselves room to breathe and find joy in unexpected places. It's about remembering that the journey itself holds many treasures, not just the finish line. Lessons learned, mistakes made. Have you ever tried your best to do the right thing, but then felt completely stuck? Maybe you had two good rules in your head, and they just crashed into each other. Like, always be honest, but also, never hurt someone's feelings. What happens when the truth would really make someone sad? This feeling of being torn, that's what we're talking about with contradicting rules. It's a tricky spot to be in. For thousands of years, people have grappled with this. Ancient thinkers, way before us, knew that life wasn't always a straight line. They understood that being a good person wasn't just about following a simple list. It was about wisdom, about thinking deeply when good things bumped into each other. It's like a puzzle with no single right answer, just better ways to try and solve it. It's not about being perfect. Here's an example. Imagine your best friend tells you a secret. They make you promise, pinky swear, you won't tell anyone. But then, you realize this secret, if kept, could actually cause a lot of trouble for someone else, or maybe even hurt them. So, you have a promise to keep, a loyalty to your friend. But then, there's also the rule about protecting others, about preventing harm. What do? Do you break your promise to help someone? Or do you keep it, even if it might lead to bad things? There's no easy button. When we find ourselves in these moments, it's easy to feel like we've failed. But here's the thing. These aren't failures. They are our biggest teachers. Every time we face a choice like this, and we struggle with it, we're not making a mistake by feeling confused. We're growing, we're learning to think past simple rules, and to understand the real-world tangle of human feelings and consequences. The journey isn't about avoiding these hard choices, but about finding our own path through them, bit by bit. We learn to understand that being ethical is a journey, not a destination. It's about being brave enough to wrestle with the hard questions, even when we don't have all the answers. And that's a powerful kind of learning. The right path's wrong end. Have you ever tried your hardest to do something good, truly good, with your whole heart, only for it to somehow lead to a messy, unexpected problem? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like you followed all the right steps, but the journey ended up somewhere you didn't mean to go at all. This is a big puzzle in ethics, when a kind intention, or an action meant to be helpful, unexpectedly causes harm or a negative result. It makes us wonder if noble goals are always enough. Thinkers for thousands of years have bumped into this idea. Ancient Greek thinkers, like Aristotle, cared deeply about a person's good intentions and character. But then, much later, some philosophers argued that what really matters are the consequences of our actions, the actual good or harm they produce in the world. Here's the thing. Sometimes, even when we try to do what's right and follow a rule that seems good, the world twists it, and the outcome is anything but. It's a powerful reminder that life is complex. Imagine this. You see a friend struggling with their math homework, really stuck and upset. You want to help them, truly. So, you decide to just give them the answers for a few tough problems, thinking it will ease their stress and help them catch up. Your heart is in the right place. You want to reduce their immediate struggle. But what happens? Maybe they don't learn the material properly, and later, on a big test, they fail because they never understood those core ideas. Or perhaps, by always providing answers, you accidentally make them rely too much on you, stopping them from developing their own problem-solving skills. Your good intention, to help, accidentally led to a worse learning outcome for your friend. In the long run, it's a tough truth. Doing good is not always simple or straightforward. Sometimes, even the clearest path forward can have hidden bumps. This teaches us to think deeply about more than just our first impulse or our immediate good feelings. We learn to consider the possible ripples our actions create, reaching out further than we might imagine. It reminds us that true kindness isn't just about wishing well, but also about understanding the real-world effects of our choices. Keeping control, losing touch. Have you ever tried so hard to do something perfectly, to keep every little bit exactly right, that you somehow lost the whole point of it? It's a strange dance we do, this trying to be good, to follow the rules, to keep everything under control. Sometimes, in that very effort to hold tight, we lose touch with what truly matters. Imagine a gardener tending a beautiful rose. If they spend all their time clipping every single tiny leaf, trying to make it absolutely perfect, they might forget the simple joy of the rose's scent, or how its petals unfurl. They become so focused on controlling its shape that they lose touch with its natural beauty, its wild heart. For centuries, people have made rules, laws, codes of conduct, ways to live. They hoped these rules would make life fair and just, like a strong fence keeping everyone safe. But here's the thing, sometimes those fences grow so tall, so thick, that they block out the sunlight. The very rules meant to guide us, to help us connect, can sometimes make us feel separate, isolated. We get so caught up in how we're supposed to be good, that we forget why we wanted to be good in the first place. Think about someone who tries to control every single emotion. They might decide, I will never be sad. I will never show fear. They build walls around their feelings, thinking they are strong. But what happens then? They might stop feeling sadness, yes, but they also lose touch with joy, with empathy, with what it means to be truly human. They might push away friends who try to comfort them, because accepting comfort would mean letting go of some control. So, maybe the real wisdom isn't in holding on tighter, but in knowing when to gently open your hand. Perhaps it's in understanding that true goodness isn't about perfect control, but about finding the soft places, the messy parts, and letting kindness flow there. It's about remembering the human heart behind every rule, and knowing when to feel, even if it's a little uncomfortable. Breaking rules for good. Have you ever stopped to wonder if there's a moment when following a rule, even a really good one, somehow feels wrong? It's a strange thought, isn't it? We learn that rules help us, keeping things safe and fair. But sometimes, life isn't so clear-cut. Sometimes, doing what feels truly right in your heart means stepping a little outside the expected lines. This idea that breaking a rule could actually lead to good is a deep part of human history. Think about figures like Rosa Parks. The rule was she had to give up her bus seat, but she knew, deep down, that rule was unfair, unjust. So, she quietly broke it. Her single act, a quiet rebellion, sparked a huge movement. That's what it means to break a rule for a greater good when your action, though against what's written, serves a deeper sense of rightness, like fairness or compassion. Here's the thing, it's not about being reckless or causing trouble. It's about listening to a quiet wisdom inside you. Imagine you promised your best friend you'd never ever tell a secret they shared. It's a good rule, keeping promises. But then, you realize keeping this particular secret might actually hurt them, or someone else, maybe even put them in danger. So here's the problem. Do you keep your promise, following the rule, or do you break it to help them, choosing what feels like the most loving thing to do, even if it feels wrong at first? This isn't easy. It asks us to look past the surface, past the clear lines, and consider the ripples our choices make. It means sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to choose kindness, or justice, over a simple instruction, letting our hearts guide us towards a path that feels truly good. Following blindly, seeing clearly. Have you ever walked a path, just following the footprints of others, without looking up? We often do this, don't we? It feels safe, it feels right. But sometimes, what seems like the clearest path can actually lead us into a dense fog. This is about the difference between just following a rule because it's there, and truly understanding why that rule exists, and if it still makes sense. Here's the thing. Sometimes a rule that sounds good on its own might clash with another good rule, or even with our own sense of what's right. When we follow blindly, we accept what's told to us without asking questions. It's like being in a school play and following every stage direction. Even if you notice the props are in the wrong place, You might follow the script perfectly, but the scene won't make sense. Long ago, thinkers in ancient Greece, like a wise man named Socrates, believed that true understanding comes from asking questions, even about things everyone else takes for granted. He didn't just accept what was known, he looked for deeper truth. This isn't about being rebellious. It's about a quiet, honest search. Imagine you're building a tower with friends, following a guide that says always use the biggest blocks first. You do this, but then you see the tower getting wobbly, because the biggest blocks are actually too heavy for the base you have. If you keep following the rule blindly, your tower will fall. But if you pause, look at the tower and the blocks, and see clearly, you might choose smaller blocks for stability, even if it goes against the guide's first instruction. That's using your own judgment, your own sense of what's truly ethical in that moment. So, maybe wisdom isn't just about knowing every rule by heart. Maybe it's about learning when to step back, to listen to that quiet whisper of doubt inside, and to look at the path with your own eyes, truly seeing where it leads. It's about finding clarity in a world that often wants us to just keep moving forward, without a second thought. The light of dark places. Have you ever wondered if something difficult, something that feels a bit dark, can actually show you something good? It's a strange thought. But here's the thing. Sometimes, light shines brightest in unexpected places. We talk about ethical rules, those guides for how we live. But what if some rules seem to fight with themselves? What if they contradict? It's like looking into a shadow, expecting nothing, and finding a small glimmer there. For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with these tricky ideas. Old philosophers believed that truly deep questions, even confusing ones, are the most important. The Greek philosopher, Socrates, quietly taught that knowing what you don't know is the first step toward true wisdom. So, when an ethical rule seems to contradict itself, it's not always a flaw. Instead, it might be a chance to see a deeper truth. It's a chance for clarity to emerge from confusion. Think about a time you tried something new, maybe a difficult sport or an art project. You probably made mistakes, right? It felt frustrating, perhaps even like a failure. That moment, that dark place of not getting it right, was important. From that mistake, you learned, you saw what didn't work. And that hard lesson, that moment of difficulty, actually showed you the clear path to improve. It gently lit up the next step you needed to take. So, when an ethical rule seems to contradict itself, don't just walk away. Don't think it's broken. Instead, see it as an invitation. It's a quiet whisper asking you to look closer. It suggests that the world and our choices are far more layered and interesting than simple right or wrong answers. The light of dark places is often the quiet wisdom we gain when we dare to explore the shadows. It's when we let complex ideas make us think harder, feel more deeply, and ultimately grow into a better understanding of the world. The light of dark places. Have you ever wondered if something difficult, something that feels a bit dark, can actually show you something good? It's a strange thought. But here's the thing. Sometimes, light shines brightest in unexpected places. We talk about ethical rules, those guides for how we live. But what if some rules seem to fight with themselves? What if they contradict? It's like looking into a shadow, expecting nothing, and finding a small glimmer there. For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with these tricky ideas. Old philosophers believed that truly deep questions, even confusing ones, are the most important. The Greek philosopher, Socrates, quietly taught that knowing what you don't know is the first step toward true wisdom. So, when an ethical rule seems to contradict itself, it's not always a flaw. Instead, it might be a chance to see a deeper truth. It's a chance for clarity to emerge from confusion. Think about a time you tried something new, maybe a difficult sport or an art project. You probably made mistakes, right? It felt frustrating, perhaps even like a failure. That moment, that dark place of not getting it right, was important. From that mistake, you learned, you saw what didn't work. And that hard lesson, that moment of difficulty, actually showed you the clear path to improve. It gently lit up the next step you needed to take. So, when an ethical rule seems to contradict itself, don't just walk away. Don't think it's broken. Instead, see it as an invitation. It's a quiet whisper asking you to look closer. It suggests that the world and our choices are far more layered and interesting than simple right or wrong answers. The light of dark places is often the quiet wisdom we gain when we dare to explore the shadows. It's when we let complex ideas make us think harder, feel more deeply, and ultimately grow into a better understanding of the world. Heavy hearts, light steps. Have you ever felt a deep ache in your chest, but still knew you had to move forward? It's a strange feeling, like carrying a heavy stone inside you, yet your feet still want to dance. This is heavy hearts, light steps. It's about those moments when doing what's right doesn't feel easy or simple. Sometimes, the best choice isn't the one that makes you instantly happy. It's the one that feels right deep down, even if it brings sadness or a hard truth. Ancient thinkers talked about duty and virtue. They knew life wasn't always comfortable. They believed truly living well meant facing tough decisions, choosing integrity even when it hurt. It was about doing good, not because it felt good, but because it was good. Here's the thing. Imagine telling a friend something difficult, something they might not want to hear. Your heart feels heavy with worry or sadness. You might hurt them, but your steps, when you go to talk, can be light and sure because you are acting from honesty and care. You're doing the right thing, even if it feels hard. It's like a scientist letting go of a long-worked experiment because the data isn't there. That's a heavy heart. But they take a light step towards a new idea, because truth matters more than personal attachment. So, here's what I found. True strength isn't about never feeling sad or worried. It's about feeling those things and still choosing to walk with kindness, truth, and purpose. It's about letting the weight in your heart remind you of what matters, then stepping forward, anyway, with courage and a clear path. Knowing what's best, doing what's not. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, deep knowing inside you, telling you what the right thing is, what's truly best. And then, just moments later, you find yourself doing something completely different. It's like your mind has a clear map, but your feet just decide to wander off the path. This feeling, this strange contradiction, is something humans have wondered about for a very long time. Here's the thing. We often know what we should do. We know eating vegetables is better for us than a bag of chips. We know studying for a test is wiser than scrolling endlessly through videos. Yet, sometimes, we reach for the chips, or stay glued to the screen, even when that little voice inside whispers, "You know better." Why is that? Ancient thinkers, like a philosopher named Socrates from Greece, thought that if you truly understood what was good and right, you would naturally do it. He believed that wrongdoing came from not knowing enough. But then, as time went on, people realized it's a bit more complicated. We can know exactly what's good and still not do it. This gap, this human struggle, has a fancy name, acrasia, or simply weakness of will. Think about your alarm clock in the morning. You set it, knowing that getting up on time means a calm start to your day. Time for breakfast, maybe even a little extra reading. You know this is the best choice. But when that loud buzzing starts, your hand reaches out almost on its own, silencing it, pulling the covers closer. That instant comfort feels so strong, even though your wise self knows it's not what's best in the long run. This isn't about being bad or weak. It's about being human. Our feelings and desires can be powerful. Sometimes, the easy or comfortable choice in the moment wins out over what our deeper wisdom tells us. And that's okay. It's a part of growing up, learning to listen to that quiet knowing, and slowly, gently, trying to bring our actions closer to what we truly believe is best. It's a journey, not a fixed point, and understanding this makes us a little kinder to ourselves and to others. The silence of agreement. Have you ever felt the quiet weight of words you didn't say, or wondered if not speaking up means you're agreeing? Here's the thing. Silence has a hidden power. We often think being quiet means peace, or that everyone's okay with something, but sometimes, silence can be mistaken for agreement, even when it's not. It's like a soft nod that isn't really a nod. This quiet acceptance, this silence of agreement, can quietly shape our lives and the rules around us. Think about how a group makes a decision. If one idea is shared and nobody says anything against it, that idea often just becomes the plan. No one had to shout yes. It happened because no one spoke. No. For a long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers watched how leaders or groups could move forward without true agreement, just because no one dared to question. It was the quiet stillness that let things become law. It's like when a new school rule is suggested. If most students just stay quiet, it can just happen. Their quietness gets taken as a sign. They're fine with it, even if some have doubts. Imagine your friends are picking a movie to watch. Someone suggests a horror film, and you really don't want to see it. You think, oh no, not that one. But then, everyone else is quiet too. Nobody speaks up. So, because no one says anything, the horror movie becomes the choice. Your silence, and everyone else's, became a kind of vote. You didn't actually say yes, but your quietness allowed it to happen. That quietness, it turned out, was a very strong force, deciding something for everyone. And that's why this matters for rules of what's right and wrong. Sometimes, ethical rules can settle into place, not because everyone agrees, but because no one questions them. If we don't offer another way, if we don't speak when something feels off, these rules can become part of our world. They might not truly fit our hearts or our sense of what's fair. Learning to find your voice, even when it feels small, is a very important act, because true agreement, the kind that helps us build a better world, usually comes from words truly spoken, not just from the empty spaces of silence. The price of happiness. Have you ever wondered if being happy always comes without a cost? It's a strange thought, isn't it? We usually think happiness is something we just want more of, but sometimes, chasing one kind of happiness can lead to something else, something not so great, if we're not careful. It's like there's a quiet price tag on certain kinds of joy. Long ago, people in ancient Greece thought a lot about what makes life truly good. Some believed happiness was just about feeling as much pleasure as possible, like eating all your favorite foods or doing only fun things. But others, like a wise thinker named Aristotle, said true happiness was deeper. It wasn't just about feeling good right now, but about living a good life, a balanced life, one where you use your talents and help others. And that kind of happiness, he thought, sometimes meant hard work or making tough choices. Here's the thing. Focusing only on what makes you feel good in the moment can have a hidden downside. Think about it like this. Maybe you love playing video games, and winning a match feels amazing. That's happiness, right? So, you decide to play all night, skipping sleep, to get more wins. In that moment, you might feel on top of the world. But then the next day, you're exhausted. You can't focus in class, you're grumpy with your friends, and you don't enjoy anything. The happiness from the game had a price: your energy, your focus, maybe even your mood the next day. So happiness isn't always a simple, free gift. Sometimes, the way we try to find it creates another kind of challenge. It makes us wonder if true joy is about finding a balance, understanding that some good things require thought, and that what feels good right now might not be what's truly good for us in the long run. It's about looking closely at what we value. Helping hand, hiding truth. Have you ever found yourself caught between two good things? Like, you want to be honest, completely clear with your words, but you also deeply want to help someone, to spare them pain. This is one of those tricky ethical dances where a helping hand might need to hide a small piece of the truth. Here's the thing. We often believe being good means always telling the exact truth, no matter what. But what if the truth, in that moment, would cause more hurt than good? Imagine a friend who worked really hard on something, a drawing or a song. They ask you if it's perfect, the best you've ever seen. Maybe it's not really. But you see their shining eyes, their hope. Do you speak the hard exact truth and maybe dim that light? Or do you offer encouragement, a softer truth, to help them keep going, to protect their tender feelings? Think about old stories or even doctors from a long time ago. Sometimes, people in tough situations, like when someone was very sick, were told a kinder version of reality, not to trick them, but to give them peace, to keep hope alive. The goal wasn't to lie for bad reasons, but to ease suffering. This isn't about being dishonest for selfish gain. It's about navigating a path where kindness and truth feel like they're pulling in different directions. So here's what happens. You want to lift someone up, to mend a hurt, or to simply let them enjoy a moment. And sometimes, for that moment, a pure, unvarnished truth feels too sharp, too heavy. It's a quiet puzzle we face. Is it more important to always be strictly truthful, or to sometimes choose compassion when it means bending the truth just a little? It's not an easy answer. It teaches us that being a good person isn't always about following one clear rule. It's about listening to your heart and deciding which path, in that specific moment, truly offers the most gentle light. When being strong means weakness, have you ever considered that what we call strength can sometimes hide a weakness? It sounds strange, right? We often picture strength as something hard, like an unbreakable rock. We admire those who never bend. But what if true strength isn't about being stiff and unyielding? What if it's about knowing when to soften, when to let go, when to lean? Think of a strong oak tree. It stands tall, but in a huge storm, the stiff, unbending tree often snaps. A smaller, more flexible tree, like a willow, might bend almost to the ground, but it survives by yielding to the wind. Ancient thinkers, from places like old China, understood this. They saw real power not in rigid force, but in being able to adapt. Like water flowing around a rock. It seems soft, but it can wear down mountains. Here's a daily example. Imagine someone who always tries to be strong. They never ask for help. Even when homework feels impossible or they're sad, they tell themselves, I must be tough. I can handle this. On the outside, they look strong, but inside, they carry a heavy burden alone. They become tired, overwhelmed, and lonely. Their refusal to reach out, which feels like strength, actually weakens them. They miss the support that could help them truly grow. So, here's the thing. Sometimes, the greatest strength is admitting you don't know something, or that you need a friend, or that it's okay to cry. It takes real courage to be vulnerable, to show your true feelings. This kind of strength isn't about building walls. It's about opening doors. It's about understanding that accepting help isn't a failure, but a powerful way to care for yourself. Being real, that's a deep kind of power. The courage to be afraid. What does it really mean to be brave? We often think courage is about not feeling scared at all, like heroes in movies who never flinch. But here's the thing, that's not quite right. Real courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the deep, sometimes shaky, decision to move forward even when you are afraid. This is one of those ideas that might seem to contradict itself, but it truly does. Single quotes. Teeth. Think about it. If you were never scared, would you even need courage? It's the presence of that uneasy feeling, that little voice telling you to stop, that makes bravery possible. Many wise people, going back thousands of years, understood this. They knew that fear is a natural human emotion, a warning system. It tells you something is important or potentially dangerous. They taught that true strength comes from acknowledging that feeling, not pretending it's not there. Imagine you're about to try out for a play, or maybe speak in front of a big group for the first time. Your stomach might flutter, your voice might feel tight. That's fear showing up. It's uncomfortable, for sure. But then, you take a deep breath. You walk onto the stage, or you step up to the microphone. You do it. That moment, when you choose to act despite the tremor in your hands, or the pounding in your chest, that is courage. It's not about erasing the fear. It's about having the courage to feel it, and still choose your path. So, the courage to be afraid means we allow ourselves to feel scared, knowing it's a natural part of being alive. It means listening to that feeling, understanding what it might be telling us, but not letting it stop us from growing. It's about being brave enough to embrace all of our feelings, even the hard ones, and still find the strength to shine. Taking risks, playing safe. Have you ever felt that quiet pull between staying safe and stepping into the unknown? It's a feeling we all know, this gentle tug-of-war inside. On one side, there's the cozy comfort of what we know, the path that feels sure. On the other, there's the exciting, maybe scary, whisper of trying something new, something risky. Here's the thing. Sometimes, choosing to stay completely safe means we miss out. It's like always staying indoors, just to avoid a tiny chance of rain. You might never feel the warm breeze, but then, taking a risk without thinking can lead to bumps and scrapes. So, how do we decide which path is the right one? Ancient thinkers, like the old Greek philosophers, talked about this. They wondered about the right measure of courage, not too much, not too little. They knew wisdom wasn't always about avoiding danger. Sometimes, it was about facing it wisely. And it wasn't always about being reckless, but about knowing when to be careful. Think about learning to ride a bike. You might want to stay close to the curb, with training wheels on. That feels safe. But to truly learn, to feel the wind and find your balance, you have to take a risk. You have to wobble, maybe even fall. The risk is falling. The reward is freedom. If you never took off those training wheels, you'd be safe. Yes, but you'd never truly ride. This tension between taking a risk and playing it safe isn't something we solve once. It's a dance. Life asks us to consider both. There are times to hold back and be careful, and there are times to breathe deep and step forward, even when it feels a little scary. That's okay. It's part of growing, part of understanding what truly matters to us. Leaving home, finding self. Have you ever wondered about who you truly are? Not just the person your family knows, or the one your friends see at school, but the deep, quiet self inside you. It's a bit like a tiny seed planted in the ground. For a long time, it stays rooted, drawing everything it needs from the soil right around it. That soil is like our home, our family, the first rules and beliefs we learn. But then, something beautiful happens. The seed starts to push, to grow, to reach for the sun. It grows roots that go deeper, and a stem that reaches higher. This is where the idea of leaving home comes in, even if you never actually move houses. It's about leaving behind just only what you've been given and starting to find your own way. You begin to question things, to wonder, is this what I truly believe? Think about an artist learning to paint. At first, they copy the masters, following every brushstroke their teacher shows them. They learn the rules of color and light. But then, one day, they feel a different kind of urge. They want to mix colors in a new way, to paint something completely from their own heart, something nobody else has ever painted. This new way might seem to break the old rules, but it's how they find their unique style, their true artistic self. Ancient thinkers, long ago, used to talk about knowing thyself. It meant understanding your own mind, your own values, even if they sometimes felt different from the world around you. This isn't about being rebellious for no reason. It's about finding your inner compass. So here's the thing. As you grow, you might find that some of the rules you learned at home, while good and important, might not always perfectly fit the person you are becoming. It's okay for your understanding of right and wrong to grow and change, just like you do. This path, this quiet search for your own truth, is a powerful and very human journey. The end that begins anew. Have you ever felt that strange quietness after something is over? Like the last day of school, or when a favorite book ends. We often see endings as final, like a door slamming shut. But what if an ending isn't truly a stop? What if it's just a different kind of beginning? It's a really old idea, this thought that things move in cycles, not just straight lines. Thinkers from long ago, like the ancient Greeks, watched the seasons turn. They saw how autumn leaves fall, seeming to die, but then enrich the soil for spring's new growth. They believed that even death was part of a bigger, ongoing story. For them, what appeared to be a finish line was often just a turn in the path, leading somewhere new. This is also true in how human knowledge grows. An old scientific idea, even if proven wrong later, wasn't a wasted effort. It showed us what didn't work, which helped us ask smarter questions and eventually find better answers. So, the end of one understanding actually sparked the birth of another. Imagine a seed, small and hard, buried in the dark earth. For it to become a towering oak tree, the seed itself has to break apart, to seemingly end. Its hard shell cracks, its stored energy is used up. It doesn't look like much is happening, maybe even like it's dying. But from that very end, a tiny sprout pushes upwards, using what was the seed to begin an entirely new, vibrant life. The seed's disappearance isn't a loss. It's the necessary step for the tree's powerful start. So, when we look at old ethical rules that now seem confusing or even wrong, it's helpful to remember this idea. Those rules might have been like that seed or the fallen leaves. They served a purpose for a time, helping people navigate their world. And in their ending, in our understanding that they no longer fit, they create the space for new, deeper, and more inclusive ethical ideas to grow. That's why it matters to reflect on them. It reminds us that every ending, even in our understanding of what's right or wrong, often carries the quiet promise of a fresh start, a chance for wisdom to truly bloom. It's a gentle reminder that change isn't just about what's lost, but also about the beauty of what can be born. Holding back, moving forward. Have you ever felt like you're standing at a crossroads, where every step forward means leaving something else behind? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This idea of holding back to move forward is one of those tricky ethical puzzles. It means that sometimes, to make progress, to do something good, you might have to give up something else that also feels important, or even do something that feels a little bit wrong. Think about it like this. Sometimes, an action that pushes us ahead in one way might force us to hold back in another, like when you're trying to save money for something big, like a new bike. you're moving forward toward your goal. But to do that, you have to hold back from buying snacks or going out with friends as often. Both saving money and spending time with friends are good things, right? But you can't always do both at the same time. Philosophers, even really old ones, like those in ancient Greece, thought a lot about this. They wondered if living a good life meant always choosing the path that seemed purest, or if sometimes a little bit of what seemed less good was needed for a greater good. They saw that life isn't always neat and tidy, like a math problem with one right answer. It's more like a tangled garden where pulling one weed helps, but might accidentally disturb a flower nearby. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine you're learning to play a new song on the guitar. To get really good, to move forward with your playing, you might need to practice for hours. That means holding back from playing video games or watching TV. Your fingers might even hurt a little. That's the holding back feeling in a small way. But the progress you make with the music is the moving forward. So, this idea reminds us that choices aren't always black and white. It's not always about good versus bad. Sometimes, it's about good versus good, or even good versus something. That feels like a small loss, and that's okay. It's part of what makes us human. It teaches us to think carefully about what truly matters and the ripple effects of our decisions. We learn that growth often means letting go, and that's a deep kind of wisdom. Forgetting to remember. Have you ever made a promise to yourself, something you truly meant to do, and then just didn't? It feels strange, doesn't it? Like a part of your own mind went on vacation. This is forgetting to remember. It's not forgetting homework. This is deeper. It's when we have an ethical rule, a strong belief, but in a moment of pressure, that belief slips away. We know it, we want to live by it, but we fail to bring it forward. Our good intention fades just when we need it. This creates a quiet contradiction. Ancient thinkers knew this struggle. Wisdom wasn't just about facts, it was about living your truth. It's hard to always line up what we say we believe with what we actually do. This gap is where contradictions bloom. It's the challenge of human nature, bridging the gap between ideals and actions. Here's an example. Imagine you decide, I will always listen without interrupting. You truly mean it. But then, your friend tells a story, and you get excited. You jump in, you interrupt. In that moment, your rule, that commitment to listening, vanished. You forgot to remember it, and that's why it matters. Your action contradicted your intention. This isn't about blaming ourselves. It's about seeing how complicated we are. We are a mix of good intentions and sudden impulses. Understanding forgetting to remember helps us understand ourselves better. True growth comes from noticing these slips gently. It reminds us that even when we stumble, the chance to realign, to bring our best selves forward, is always there. It's a quiet chance to try again, with more awareness next time. The art of letting go. Have you ever held onto something so tightly, a memory or a feeling, that it started to ache? Maybe it was a mistake you made, or an unfair word someone said. We cling to these, replaying them, and sometimes they feel like heavy stones we carry. But here's the thing about letting go. It's not about forgetting. It's a quiet choice to stop carrying that weight. Think of a river. It flows, picking up pebbles and leaves, but it doesn't hold on to them forever. It lets them drift downstream, making space for fresh water. This idea is ancient. Many wise people, across different cultures, found peace by not clinging. They saw suffering came from holding on to the past, or worrying about the future. True freedom, they said, came from accepting life's natural flow. Here's an example. Imagine you've built an amazing sandcastle at the beach. You spent hours on it. Then the tide comes in, and waves slowly wash parts away. You could fight the ocean, trying to rebuild each crumbling turret. Or, you could simply watch, accepting its time is done. You appreciate its beauty, then let the ocean reclaim the sand. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't value it. It just means you understand some things are temporary. This frees you to feel the cool water, and maybe plan your next creation. So, letting go is a soft, brave decision. It's about opening your hand, not in surrender, but in peace. It's making room inside yourself for kindness, for new growth, and for the quiet calm that comes when you set down what no longer serves your spirit. It's a way to find your freedom. When silence speaks volumes, have you ever noticed how sometimes the quietest moments are actually the loudest? It's a strange thought, isn't it? When we talk about rules, we usually think about clear words, things that are said or written down. But here's the thing, sometimes, what isn't said can hold just as much weight, maybe even more. This is where silence starts to speak volumes, carrying its own powerful message, sometimes even revealing a contradiction. Think about it, not speaking up is a choice, and that choice always has an impact. For centuries, thinkers have pondered this. Ancient philosophers, like those in Greece, understood that true wisdom wasn't just about what you spoke, but also about the powerful meaning in silence. They saw how silence could be a sign of respect, deep thought, or even a subtle form of protest. But they also knew that silence could mean something else entirely, a quiet agreement with something wrong, or a turning away from a difficult truth. When you stand by and say nothing, that silence can contradict a deeper ethical rule you might hold, like believing in fairness or justice. Here's an example that might sound familiar. Imagine you're in a group of friends, and one person starts making a hurtful joke about someone who isn't there, maybe even spreading a rumor. Nobody else says a word. No one steps in. That shared silence, that quiet permission from the group, can be incredibly powerful. It makes the unkind words seem okay, even if deep down you know they're not. Your quietness, your not speaking up, allows the unkindness to continue. It's a contradiction because while you might think you're just being neutral or avoiding conflict, your silence is actually taking a side, allowing harm to happen. This idea isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the surprising power of what's absent. It reminds us that our quiet moments, our choices to not act or not speak, carry a lot of meaning. So, we learn to listen not just to the words people say, but also to the spaces between them, because in those silent spaces, sometimes the most important ethical lessons are hiding, asking us to reflect deeply on what we permit, simply by saying nothing at all. What does your silence truly say? Building bridges, burning them. Have you ever thought about how we connect with people, or how sometimes those connections just break? It's like we're always building something. Sometimes we build bridges, linking ourselves to others, creating understanding. But here's the thing, sometimes the very act of building one bridge might mean we're accidentally burning another. It's about choices where trying to be good or do right for one person or group might accidentally make things harder for someone else. Think back to ancient times, or even just what you read in stories. People often lived in small groups, like tribes or villages. Their rules, their ethics, were often about helping their own people survive and thrive. And that made sense, right? You protect your family, your friends. But then, what about people outside that group? Sometimes, protecting your own meant seeing outsiders as a threat, or just less important. It wasn't always mean-spirited. It was about survival. The good for us could sometimes mean less good, or even harm for them. Imagine your school has a fundraiser. You and your friends work really hard to raise money for, say, new sports equipment. That's awesome. You're building something good for the school, a bridge for the athletes. You feel good about helping. But what if the money only goes to sports, and the art club, which is also really struggling, gets nothing? The good you did for one group, while totally good, might make another group feel forgotten, or even left out. It's not that you did anything wrong in raising money for sports. It's just that the choice, the good action, had another side. It created a benefit for some, but perhaps a quiet sense of loss for others. It shows us that our actions, even when meant to be kind or helpful, ripple outwards, far beyond what we first see. Sometimes, the same hand that builds a strong connection in one place might, without meaning to, create distance somewhere else. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How do we try to build more bridges, for everyone, truly, without leaving anyone feeling unseen or in the shadows? It's a complicated thought, but an important one to carry with us as we move through the world, making choices. The value of nothing. Have you ever really thought about nothing? It sounds strange, right? Like, how can nothing have value? Most times, we want something. We want a new phone, good grades, or a great story to tell. We fill our lives with noise, and tasks and things. But here's the thing. Sometimes, nothing is exactly what we need. Think about the quiet space between notes in a song. If there were no pauses, just endless sound, it would be chaos. It's those moments of silence that make the music breathe, that give shape to the melody. Or consider a blank page in a notebook. It's empty, yes, but it's full of possibility. It's waiting for your ideas, your drawings, your stories. Without that empty space, you couldn't create anything new. Across history, wise people have explored this idea. Ancient thinkers in places like China taught that true wisdom often came from emptiness, from a quiet mind. They believed that when your mind wasn't cluttered with thoughts, it became like a clear pool, able to reflect things as they really are. It wasn't about being empty-headed, but about clearing space for deeper understanding. It's like when you're really busy with homework or friends, your brain gets full. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just sit still for a few minutes. Not scroll, not watch, just sit. That moment of doing nothing isn't wasted. It's when your brain gets a chance to sort things out, to reset. It's when new ideas can pop up, or when you finally understand something that felt confusing. So maybe nothing isn't a lack, but a presence. It's the space that allows for everything else to exist and to make sense. It's the breath you take before speaking, the quiet moment before a big decision, the silence that makes the words you hear truly stand out. It reminds us that sometimes the most important things come from creating room, from letting go, and from just being present, and that's why it matters. Getting what you want, losing what you need. Have you ever thought about how sometimes when you finally get something you really, really wanted, it feels different, maybe even a little empty? Here's the thing. Sometimes, the very act of chasing, a desire, of reaching for that want, can make us lose sight of something we actually need more. It's like a hidden trade-off, where gaining one thing means letting go of another, often more important thing. Think about the old stories, like King Midas. He wished for everything he touched to turn to gold. He got what he wanted, right, riches beyond measure. But then, when his own daughter turned to a golden statue, he learned a hard truth. He wanted gold, but he needed love, connection, the warmth of life. He lost the very things that made life worth living, all because his desire got in the way. Or think about a student who is super focused on getting the highest grade on a test. They study all night, maybe even skip sleep, just to get that perfect score. They get the A they wanted, but what did they lose? Maybe the joy of understanding the subject, the chance to connect with friends, or even just a good night's rest. They got the grade, but perhaps they lost their genuine curiosity, or their being. It's a tricky balance, isn't it? This idea reminds us to look beyond the immediate prize. It makes us ask, what are we truly aiming for, and what hidden cost might come with it? Maybe the real wisdom is in understanding what our hearts and minds truly need, before we chase after every shiny want that passes by, because sometimes the most valuable things aren't things at all, and they're the easiest to lose when we're focused on the wrong prize. The gift of taking. Have you ever stopped to think about taking? We usually see it as a bad thing, right? Someone takes something, and it feels like a loss. But what if, sometimes, taking can be a gift? This idea feels strange at first. We learn to give, to share, to be selfless. Those things are so important. But here's the thing. To truly give, sometimes you first have to take. Think about a tiny seed. It takes water, nutrients, sunlight from the soil. It takes this in, not to hoard, but to grow. It uses what it takes to become a strong plant, maybe a fruit tree. Then, that tree gives fruit, shade, oxygen. Its giving comes from its initial act of taking. Many thinkers throughout history understood this natural cycle. They saw how life constantly exchanges energy. Consider a student in a classroom taking knowledge from a book or a teacher. They absorb ideas, facts, new ways of thinking. This isn't stealing. This taking builds their understanding and helps them grow. Then, maybe, they use that knowledge to create, to help others. That's a powerful kind of giving, made possible by taking. So, the gift of taking isn't about being greedy. It's about recognizing that sometimes, taking is a necessary part of a bigger circle. It's about being open to receiving what you need, like a lesson, a moment of peace, or just quiet time for yourself. When you take mindfully, with a purpose beyond just yourself, it can be the first step towards truly meaningful giving. It's about understanding that life is a flow, where taking and giving are two sides of the same beautiful coin. The strength in quitting is quitting always a sign of weakness. We often hear that we should never give up, never surrender. But here's the thing. Sometimes, stepping away, letting go, or choosing to stop, isn't weakness at all. It can be a deep, quiet strength, a brave choice that opens new doors. Think about it. We're taught to push through, to keep going no matter what, and persistence is good, for sure. But the wise thinkers of old, like those who taught us about finding peace, often spoke of knowing what you can control and what you cannot. They understood that holding on to something that no longer serves you can be more harmful than letting it go. It's like a tree in autumn. It sheds its leaves, not because it's weak, but so it can rest and gather strength for new growth in the spring. Imagine you've joined a school club or a sports team. At first it's exciting, full of energy, but maybe, over time, it stops feeling right. It starts to feel heavy, like a chore, or it takes up too much time from other things that matter more to you. You might feel like you have to keep going, just because you started. You might worry about what others will think if you quit. But here's the lesson. Continuing out of stubbornness, when your heart isn't in it, or when it's actively hurting you, isn't courageous. True courage might be the quiet decision to say, this isn't for me anymore. So, the strength in quitting isn't about giving up on all effort. It's about knowing yourself. It's about understanding when a path has ended, or when you need to choose a different one for your own well-being. That gentle decision, to step away from what no longer helps you grow, that is courage. It's a profound act of self-care, a quiet move toward finding your true path. Saying yes, meaning no. Have you ever said yes to something when your entire being was quietly screaming no? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? To speak words that don't match what's truly going on inside you. It's like your voice takes one path, while your heart follows another. On the outside you agree, you nod, you smile, but deep down, there's a quiet refusal, a gentle shake of the head only you can feel. This happens more often than we realize. For thousands of years, people have thought about this very thing. Ancient thinkers, long before any of us, wondered about what it means to be truly honest, not just with friends, but with yourself. They believed that when your words and your inner feelings are out of sync, it creates a kind of quiet trouble. It's like trying to build a strong house where the foundation doesn't quite match the walls. There's a wobble. True strength, they said, comes from being whole, where what you say and what you feel are connected. Think about a time when a friend asked you to join a big project, or an outing, and you were just too tired. Or maybe you already had way too much to do, but you didn't want to hurt their feelings. You worried about what they might think. So, you gave a quick, yeah, sure, sounds good. But inside, you were already imagining the extra stress, feeling the pull of other things you truly needed to do. That yes wasn't a real yes. It was a no wearing a mask. Here's the thing, saying yes when you mean no can feel like the easy way out. It can feel kind in the moment. But when we keep doing it, we slowly dim our own light. We build a small, invisible wall between our true self and the world around us. Over time, it can get harder to even know what we really want, because we've practiced ignoring that quiet, inner voice. Maybe the bravest thing we can do is to let our yes be a real yes, and our no be a clear no. That's a quiet path, but it leads to a much deeper sense of peace. The freedom of limits. When you hear limits, what comes to mind? Maybe rules that hold you back, or walls that keep you trapped. But here's a quiet truth. Sometimes, limits are what truly set us free. This might sound strange. Think of a powerful river. Its water flows with great strength. What makes it a river, not a flood? Its banks. These are its limits. Without them, water spreads everywhere, losing its path and its power. The banks guide its journey, helping it carve deep valleys and reach the vast sea. These limits give it clear direction and purpose. People have thought about this for a long time. Ancient philosophers understood that rules in a city weren't just about stopping bad things. They made safe spaces where good things could genuinely grow. Imagine a painter. They use a canvas with a set size. This limit doesn't stop their creativity. It helps focus their vision, letting them create something amazing within that space. Now, think about writing a compelling story. No grammar, no paragraphs, no characters, no plot. It would just be a chaotic jumble of words. But when you learn about beginnings and endings, about how characters grow, and how sentences fit together, you gain immense freedom. The freedom to tell any story you can imagine. These creative limits give you profound power, and this idea matters for us. Life can feel vast, often confusing, like a small boat lost in a huge ocean. But when we understand that some rules in friendships, at school, in our choices aren't just about holding us back. They gently shape us, guide us, and give our lives real, lasting meaning. This brings a different, deeper kind of freedom. It's the freedom to move with clear intention, to build something truly meaningful, and to discover where you genuinely belong. It's the quiet, comforting strength of knowing your unique path. Loving so much, letting go. Have you ever loved something so deeply that the very best thing you could do for it was to let it go? It feels like a trick, doesn't it? We usually think love means holding on tight, keeping close what we cherish. But here's the thing, sometimes the truest form of love asks us to open our hands instead of clenching them. It's a quiet, brave act that seems to contradict everything we believe about connection. This isn't just a modern idea. For centuries, wise people have wrestled with this concept. Thinkers from ancient Greece to quiet monks in far-off mountains all wondered about attachment. They often said that holding on to things too tightly, whether it's an idea, a person, or even a feeling, can sometimes cause pain. They believed real freedom, and sometimes real love, comes from understanding when to release, when to wish someone well on their own path. It's a lesson about knowing the difference between wanting something for someone and wanting something from them. Think about a tiny bird you found, hurt. You nurse it back to health, feed it, care for it. You grow to love this bird. You might want to keep it safe inside forever, close to you. But the bird's nature is to fly, to soar high above the trees. If you truly love that bird, what does your heart tell you? It tells you to open the window, to watch it spread its wings, and fly far away into the big sky. You might feel a pang of sadness as it disappears, but also a deep sense of peace. You know you gave it what it truly needed, what it was meant to do. Loving so much that you can let go isn't about giving up. It's about understanding that love isn't ownership. It's about wishing well, even when it costs you something. It's a quiet strength, a gentle wisdom, and sometimes it's the most beautiful kind of love there is, because it makes room for growth, not just for the one you love, but for your own heart too. The beauty of imperfection. Have you ever wondered if everything truly needs to be perfect? We often chase after flawless grades, ideal appearances, or spotless creations. But what if real beauty lives in the cracks, the smudges, and the parts that aren't quite finished? Here's the thing. Sometimes, the very things we call flaws are what make something truly special. Think about an old, wise tree. Its trunk might be bent, its branches twisted, reaching out in unusual ways. It's not perfectly straight like a ruler, is it? But those unique shapes tell a story. They show the storms it has faced, the seasons it has endured, and the way it has grown towards the light, finding its own path. Its imperfections are not weaknesses. They are a map of its life, a quiet strength that makes it stand out in the forest. In Japan, there's an ancient idea called wabi-sabi. It teaches us to see the deep beauty in things that are worn, incomplete, and fleeting. It's about loving a handmade pottery bowl that isn't perfectly round, or finding peace in the fading colors of an old photograph. This isn't about being broken or bad. Instead, it's about embracing the natural flow of life, the gentle decay, and the unique marks that time leaves behind. It reminds us that all things change, and that's okay. So, when we look at ourselves, maybe we don't need to strive for an impossible perfection. Maybe the little quirks that make you, that specific laugh, that way your hair curls, the moments you tripped or messed up, are actually the parts that hold the most honest beauty. These are the marks of your own unique journey, and that's why it matters, because true beauty isn't about being without flaws, but about being wonderfully, authentically you, showing all the real, messy, beautiful bits. Living fast, dying slow. Have you ever wondered if the speed of life is always a good thing? We rush, we hurry, always chasing the next exciting thing, or the quickest way to get somewhere. But sometimes, living fast can lead to a kind of dying slow. It's a strange idea, right? It means that actions we take quickly, for a fast thrill or an easy win, can slowly cause harm, often without us even noticing it at first. It's a real contradiction. The rush to get something now can make us lose something important later. Bit by bit. Think about it like this. Many old stories and wise people from history, like ancient Greek thinkers, or even just old proverbs, often warned about this. They talked about balance and patience, and how real strength comes from steady effort. They knew that something built quickly might not last. but something built slowly and carefully, brick by brick, tends to be strong and stand for a long time. It's about choosing what truly lasts over what just feels good for a moment. Here's an example that might make sense. Imagine you always choose sugary snacks and fast food because it's quick, easy, and tastes great right now. That's living fast in a way, enjoying instant flavor and convenience. You get that immediate burst of energy, that sweet taste. But what happens over time? Slowly, without you noticing on day one, your body might start to feel less energetic. You might get sick more often, or it could lead to bigger health problems down the road. That's the dying slow part, the gradual, hidden cost of those quick, easy choices. So this idea isn't about avoiding fun or excitement. It's about truly thinking about what we value most deeply. Do we chase every quick reward, every easy path, without looking ahead at the longer journey? Or do we choose to build things that are lasting, like real strength and character, steady health, or genuine, deep happiness that grows over time? It's a quiet question for each of us, asking us to consider if today's choices are truly kind to our future selves, or if they are setting up a slow, unseen struggle later on. It's about understanding that some of the biggest harms don't come in a sudden, dramatic crash, but in a quiet, steady drain, like sand slipping through an hourglass, unnoticed until it's nearly gone. Finding peace in chaos. Have you ever felt like everything around you is just loud, like 100 different voices all talking at once, and it's hard to hear your own thoughts? That's what chaos can feel like. And when ethical rules seem to argue with each other, it can feel like a kind of chaos too. But here's what I found. Even in that noise, you can find a quiet space. For thousands of years, people have tried to understand how to stay calm when life gets messy. Ancient thinkers, like the Stoics, believed you can't control what happens outside. Storms will come, problems will pop up, but you can control how you react inside. They believed finding inner calm was real power. It's about knowing that even when things seem to go wrong, you have a place inside that stays steady. Imagine you're on a crowded street, downtown, cars honking, people rushing, music from stores. It's a lot. Your eyes and ears are taking in so much. But then, you spot a small, quiet park bench tucked away. For a moment, you just sit, take a deep breath, and watch the world go by without being pulled into its frantic energy. You're still in the chaos, but you've found your own quiet spot. This is like finding peace with conflicting ideas. Ethical rules might pull you in different directions. One says, be honest. Another says, don't hurt feelings. It feels messy. But instead of getting lost, you can step back. You can breathe. You can choose to understand that sometimes life is complicated, and that's okay. Finding peace means accepting the mess, and then choosing how you want to be within it. It's knowing that even when answers aren't clear, your own quiet strength can guide you. The noise of quiet thoughts. Have you ever noticed how loud silence can be? Not the quiet of an empty room, but the kind where your own thoughts fill everything. It's strange, right? When the world goes still, your mind often buzzes. It's not an actual sound, but more like a hum, a constant whisper of ideas, feelings, and questions. This is the noise of quiet thoughts. It's the inner voice, sometimes unsure, sometimes clear, that speaks to you. Ancient thinkers, like the old Greek philosophers, spent much time on this idea. They believed truly knowing yourself, understanding what makes you tick, was key. They called it self-knowledge. For them, our inner world wasn't empty. It was a whole universe of ideas that moved and sometimes bumped into each other. They saw that even when you sit still, your mind is working hard, sorting things out. Here's the thing. Imagine you're choosing between two good options, like which friend to sit with at lunch. Maybe one choice feels right in your heart, but the other makes more sense in your head. That little debate happening inside you, that's the noise. Or think about a computer. Even when you're not using it, it's running many programs in the background. You don't hear them, but they're active. Your mind is like that, always processing, always thinking, even when you're not trying to solve a problem. So, this inner noise, this hum of thoughts, isn't something to fear. It's part of being human. It's how we explore our feelings, how we weigh different ideas, and how we slowly figure out what we truly believe. It's in these quiet moments, when thoughts are loudest, that we find our deepest truths. It means you're alive, and you're growing. Being seen, feeling invisible. Have you ever stood in a crowded room, Maybe at school or a party, where everyone seems to notice you, but deep down, you feel completely alone. It's a strange contradiction, isn't it? The world sees your outside, your clothes, your smile, the way you laugh. They see you physically there, but inside, where your real thoughts live, where your true feelings hide, you might feel like no one truly sees that part. It's like being a star in the sky, bright and visible to everyone, but also miles away, solitary and unknown. Thinkers for centuries have thought about this. Ancient Greek philosophers, for example, talked about the difference between appearance and reality. They wondered if what we show the world is truly who we are, or just a shadow of it. Sometimes, the roles we play for others, or the faces we put on, become so convincing that even we forget what lies beneath. It's a very old idea, this quiet struggle between how we look and how we feel. Consider your phone. You post a picture, and it gets lots of likes and comments. People see you, they react to the image, but do they truly see the effort you put into that picture, or the feeling behind your eyes when you took it? Do they see the quiet thought or worry that might have been swirling in your head just before you smiled for the camera? The likes are proof you're seen, but they don't always mean you're understood. It's a surface connection. So, we live in a world where being visible is easy, especially now. But feeling truly seen, truly understood, that's different. It's about finding those quiet moments, and those special people, who look past the bright light and see the deep, quiet glow within. It reminds us that our true selves are often hidden, waiting for the right kind of light to be revealed, not just noticed. The path of no path. Have you ever tried to find your way, but the map didn't make sense? What if the right path wasn't a straight line, or even a path you could clearly see? This idea, the path of no path, is about moments when ethical rules seem to tie us in knots. It's when trying too hard to follow a strict instruction gets in the way of doing what feels truly right. Sometimes, the most ethical thing to do isn't written anywhere. It's about letting go of the idea of one clear, obvious path. Ancient thinkers, especially in old China, explored this idea. They believed true wisdom wasn't about following a rigid plan. They talked about effortless action, moving with the flow, like water around a rock. They thought trying too hard to control every step could block real understanding. It's about trusting what happens naturally. Think about learning to ride a bike. At first, you try to follow every instruction. Hold handlebars straight, pedal evenly, look ahead. You're thinking so much about rules you wobble and fall. But then, something clicks. You stop trying so hard. You just do it. You feel the balance. You trust your body. There's no exact rule for that feeling. It's a natural knowing from letting go of rigid instructions. This is like the path of no path. So, when you face a tough choice, and rules seem to pull in different directions, remember this. Sometimes, the most ethical way isn't by strictly following a pre-made path. It's about trusting your inner sense of what's kind, fair, and true. It's about being present and letting deeper wisdom guide you, even when the way ahead looks empty. It's a quiet understanding. Sometimes, the strongest moral step is taken beyond the steps. The joy of sadness. Have you ever cried so hard, and then, slowly, a quiet calm settled over you? It might seem strange to talk about joy and sadness in the same breath. Sadness feels heavy, like a dark cloud. But what if that cloud, after it passes, leaves behind something beautiful, something necessary for growth? Here's the thing. Sometimes, the deepest sadness can help us find an even deeper joy. Think about it like this. If you never knew what it felt like to be cold, you wouldn't truly appreciate the warmth of a cozy blanket. In the same way, sadness can sharpen our understanding of happiness. Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosophers, understood that life isn't just about feeling good all the time. They believed that truly living meant experiencing the full range of emotions, even the tough ones. They saw how facing difficult feelings could make a person stronger, more thoughtful. Imagine a beautiful flower. It needs sunshine, yes, but it also needs rain. Without the rain, the flower withers. Sadness is a bit like that rain. When you feel sad because a pet has passed away, or a friend moves far away, it hurts. But that sadness also tells you how much you loved them, how important they were. It reminds you of all the good times, and it teaches you empathy for others who are hurting too. This might work for you. When we allow ourselves to feel sadness fully, without trying to push it away, we learn something vital about ourselves and the world. It's like clearing out an old room. It might be dusty and hard work, but once it's clean, there's space for new light, new ideas. So, maybe true joy isn't just about feeling happy. Maybe it's about making peace with all our feelings, even the ones that ache, and understanding that each one helps us grow, shaping us into more understanding, more deeply connected people. And that's why it matters. The wisdom of not knowing. Have you ever wondered if not knowing something could actually be a kind of wisdom? It might sound a little strange. Usually, we think being smart means having all the answers. But here's the thing. Sometimes deep wisdom comes from admitting we don't know, that this idea isn't new. Long ago, in ancient Greece, a famous thinker named Socrates said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." He meant that when you realize how much you haven't learned, you become truly curious. You become open to new ideas. You start asking questions, and that, he believed, is where real understanding begins. Think about it like this. Imagine building something new with Legos, without instructions. If you grab pieces, assuming you know how it will turn out, you might get frustrated or miss cool ways to connect things. But if you start by admitting, "I don't know how this will look, but I'm ready to figure it out," you're open to exploring. You try different combinations. You learn as you go. You'll build something far more interesting. That openness, that quiet understanding that you don't have every answer, lets you really listen. It lets you truly learn. It makes you brave enough to ask why and how. And that's why it matters. In a world full of big ideas and mysteries, there's a gentle strength in knowing it's okay not to know everything. It means discovery never truly ends. It leaves room for wonder, for growth, and for all the beautiful things you haven't learned yet. The power of giving up. When you hear giving up, what do you picture? Often it feels like failure, a sign you didn't try hard enough. But what if, sometimes, giving up isn't a defeat at all? What if it's a quiet strength, a deep kind of wisdom? Here's the thing. Sometimes, the greatest courage is knowing when to let go. Holding on to something too tightly, especially if it's not working or causing harm, can hurt more than letting it go. It's not weakness. It's choosing a different path when the current one leads nowhere good. Think about old wisdom. People from long ago understood how nature lets go. Like a tree in autumn, releasing its leaves. It doesn't cling, even if they were beautiful. It lets them fall, not giving up on life, but shedding the old for new growth in spring. Letting go is vital for its future. Or imagine you've tried to solve a really tricky math problem for an hour. You've erased your work. Your brain feels tired, and you're frustrated. You could keep pushing, feeling stuck. But sometimes, giving up on that one attempt, stepping away, clears your head. You might come back later, or even next day, and suddenly the solution appears. You gave your mind space. That's not failure. That's smart. So, the power of giving up isn't about quitting on your dreams. It's about releasing what no longer serves you. It's choosing peace over endless struggle. It's trusting that when one door closes, it makes room for a new window to open, letting in fresh air and new possibilities. It's a gentle, powerful lesson about making wise choices, staying true, changing everything. Have you ever wondered if it's okay to change your mind about something you once believed deeply? It's like, one day you think you know exactly how the world works, and the next, something shifts, a new idea pops up, or you learn something surprising, and suddenly, your old belief doesn't quite fit anymore. Does that mean you're being wishy-washy? Or is it something else entirely? Here's the thing. Staying true to yourself isn't always about sticking to the exact same thoughts you had yesterday. Sometimes, being truly authentic means being open to growth. It means letting new information or new experiences gently shape your understanding. Think about how science works. For a long time, people believed the Earth was flat. It made sense based on what they could see. But then, brave thinkers, driven by curiosity, started to question. They looked at the stars differently, imagined ships sailing over the horizon. They weren't being untrue to science. They were being true to the spirit of discovery itself. They were brave enough to change everything they thought they knew, which led to a clearer picture of our world. Imagine you have a favorite tree in your yard. When it's young, it's a small sapling. You know it as this tiny tree. But over the years, it grows, its branches spread wide, its roots go deep, becoming a giant. It changes so much, but it's still that tree, the one you know. It stays true to its essential nature, its treeness, even as it transforms completely. That's a bit like us. We keep our core, our values, our deepest spirit, but our understanding of the world, our opinions, they can branch out and evolve, just like the tree. So, when you learn something new that challenges an old idea, don't feel like you're betraying yourself. Instead, see it as a beautiful part of becoming. It means you're alive, you're learning, and you're brave enough to let your inner world expand. It's not about being fake, it's about being real enough to grow. It's okay for your truth to grow with you. When helping harms, have you ever tried to fix something only to make it worse? It's a strange thought, isn't it? That sometimes our best intentions, our deepest desire to help, can somehow lead to hurt instead. This is a quiet, powerful idea. It's about how even acts of kindness can have surprising, difficult results we never planned for. Think about it this way. For a long time, thinkers have wrestled with unintended consequences. This means the things that happen because of our actions, but weren't what we meant to happen. Like someone builds a dam to stop floods and provide water, which sounds amazing. But then, the dam might stop fish from swimming upstream to lay their eggs, hurting their population. Or, the land downstream might become too dry. It's a complicated balance. Imagine you see a classmate struggling with a difficult math problem. You want to help so badly, so you just give them the answers. You feel good, right? You help them finish. But here's the thing, while you solve that problem for them, you also stopped them from learning how to solve it themselves. You took away their chance to struggle, to figure it out, to really understand the concept. Your help, though kind, might have accidentally made them less prepared for the next test. It teaches us something important. It's not just about what we do, but how our actions ripple out into the world. Sometimes, the most loving thing isn't always to directly fix everything, but to create space for others to grow, even when it's hard. It's about looking deeper than just the moment, and understanding that real help often looks different than we expect. It's a gentle challenge to think before we act, and to remember that the world is always moving, always changing, often in ways we can't entirely see. Learning to unlearn. Have you ever stopped to think about all the things you've been taught? All the ideas you carry inside your head? What if some of them, even the ones you feel really sure about, aren't exactly right anymore? This is where a quiet, powerful idea comes in. Learning to unlearn. It's not about forgetting everything. Not at all. It's more like choosing to let go of old ways of thinking that might be holding you back. Think of it like this. Your mind is a garden. Sometimes, we plant things that once seemed good, but later, they might just be weeds taking up space, or maybe they just don't fit the garden you want anymore. Unlearning is pulling out those weeds, or moving a plant that's in the wrong spot, so new, better things can grow. Ancient thinkers, like the philosopher Socrates, often talked about how true wisdom starts with knowing what you don't know. For centuries, people believed the earth was flat, and the sun circled us. That was a widely accepted truth. But then, explorers and scientists like Copernicus and Galileo came along, saw new evidence, and slowly, humanity had to unlearn that old idea. They had to shift their entire view of the universe. It wasn't easy. It often felt scary to let go of such a big, old idea. Here's an everyday example. Imagine you learned to ride a bike with training wheels. For a while, they helped you. They felt safe. But to truly ride, to balance on your own, you had to unlearn that reliance. You had to let go of the wheels, even if it meant a few wobbles or falls. That felt strange, maybe a little wobbly at first, but it led to real freedom and speed. So, unlearning is a brave act. It's about being open, staying curious, and understanding that growth sometimes means letting go of what once seemed solid. It's finding peace in knowing that your understanding of the world can always deepen, can always change, like a quiet river always finding new paths. It's a gentle, powerful way to make space for wisdom. Learning to unlearn. Have you ever stopped to think about all the things you've been taught? All the ideas you carry inside your head? What if some of them, even the ones you feel really sure about, aren't exactly right anymore? This is where a quiet, powerful idea comes in. Learning to unlearn. It's not about forgetting everything. Not at all. It's more like choosing to let go of old ways of thinking that might be holding you back. Think of it like this. Your mind is a garden. Sometimes, we plant things that once seemed good, but later, they might just be weeds taking up space, or maybe they just don't fit the garden you want anymore. Unlearning is pulling out those weeds, or moving a plant that's in the wrong spot, so new, better things can grow. Ancient thinkers, like the philosopher Socrates, often talked about how true wisdom starts with knowing what you don't know. For centuries, people believed the earth was flat and the sun circled us. That was a widely accepted truth. But then, explorers and scientists like Copernicus and Galileo came along, saw new evidence, and slowly, humanity had to unlearn that old idea. They had to shift their entire view of the universe. It wasn't easy. It often felt scary to let go of such a big, old idea. Here's an everyday example. Imagine you learned to ride a bike with training wheels. For a while, they helped you. They felt safe. But to truly ride, to balance on your own, you had to unlearn that reliance. You had to let go of the wheels, even if it meant a few wobbles or falls. That felt strange, maybe a little wobbly at first, but it led to real freedom and speed. So, unlearning is a brave act. It's about being open, staying curious, and understanding that growth sometimes means letting go of what once seemed solid. It's finding peace in knowing that your understanding of the world can always deepen, can always change, like a quiet river always finding new paths. It's a gentle, powerful way to make space for wisdom. The light in the darkest room. Have you ever found yourself in a place so dark you couldn't tell up from down? Sometimes, life's trickiest choices feel like that. We learn rules for what's right and wrong, but what happens when those rules seem to pull in opposite directions? This idea, the light in the darkest room, isn't about finding a magic switch. It's about how, even when ethical choices are really confusing, you can still find a path, a sense of what's true for you. Philosophers have thought about this for ages. Way back, thinkers like the Stoics talked about finding peace and clear thinking even when everything else felt chaotic. They believed that your inner voice, your own understanding, could be your steadiest guide. It was about focusing on what you could control, your thoughts and reactions, rather than letting confusion take over. Imagine trying to build something complex with Legos, but the instructions are all mixed up, even conflicting. It feels impossible, right? But then, you step back, you stop looking at the confusing instructions, and just look at the pieces you have. You remember what you want to build. Suddenly, a small idea pops into your head. If I just put this piece here, it makes sense. That small flash of knowing, that personal clarity, is like the light. It doesn't fix the bad instructions, but it helps you start building your own way. So, when faced with ethical problems that seem to have no easy answers, and rules that contradict, remember, that light, it's not a loud, sudden flash. It's often a quiet, steady glow within you. It's your own conscience, your gut feeling, helping you see just enough to take the next step. It's a reminder that even in the deepest ethical darkness, you always have a way to find your own truth, your own best path, one careful step at a time. Gaining control, losing freedom. Have you ever thought about how much we want to be in charge? To have everything just right, exactly how we imagine it. We make rules for ourselves, for games, even for our feelings. We try so hard to gain control. But sometimes, here's the thing, the tighter we grasp, the less free our hands become when we try to set an ethical rule that covers every situation, leaving no doubt we're trying for total control. We want to be absolutely sure what's right or wrong, always. Many thinkers have explored this. Ancient philosophers, like some in Greece, imagined perfect societies where everyone followed very strict rules. They believed this strong control would bring peace and order. It sounds good, no messy surprises. But what happens when life throws something new at us? Something the rule didn't plan for? Imagine you follow a strict rule. I must finish all homework by 6 p.m., no matter what. This gives you control, you think. But then, a friend really needs your help, or your family needs you. If you cling to that 6 p.m. rule, you might miss a chance to be kind or connect. You gained control over your schedule, but you lost the freedom to choose what's best in that unique moment. You lost the freedom to adapt. So here's what I found. True wisdom isn't always about having all the answers or the tightest grip. It's about understanding that life is a dance between knowing what you believe and letting go a little. It's about finding freedom not in perfect control, but in the space where we can still choose, still grow, even when things are uncertain. It means trusting ourselves to choose in the moment, not just follow a rigid path. It's about a different kind of strength, embracing the beautiful messiness of being human, the comfort of being uncomfortable, Have you ever noticed how sometimes the very things that make us squirm, that stretch us just a little too far, can later feel like a strange kind of home? It sounds like a puzzle, doesn't it? The comfort of being uncomfortable. But here's the thing, it's not about enjoying pain. It's about finding a quiet strength within ourselves when things are hard. It's about understanding that real growth doesn't happen when we're always cozy and safe. It happens when we step just outside that warmth. Think about ancient thinkers, long ago, who looked closely at life. Many of them, like the Stoics in ancient Greece and Rome, believed that facing hardships wasn't just something to endure. They saw it as a training ground for the soul. They suggested we shouldn't run from what's difficult, but rather see it as a chance to build character, like lifting weights for your mind. They understood that true peace wasn't found in avoiding problems, but in learning how to handle them calmly. So, here's what happened. Imagine you're learning to play a new instrument, like the guitar. At first, your fingers ache, the chords feel clumsy, and the notes sound terrible. It's uncomfortable, right? You might want to give up, but if you keep going, day after day, that soreness eventually fades. Your fingers get stronger, and the music starts to flow. What felt hard and awkward becomes smoother, easier. You become comfortable with the challenge, and in that process, you grow. The comfort isn't in the struggle itself, but in the knowing that you faced something tough, and you didn't break. You bent, you stretched, and you learned. And that's why it matters. It teaches us resilience, a deep, quiet courage that stays with us, making us ready for whatever comes next. It's a gentle reminder that growth often feels like a squeeze, but the result is always more space for us to be ourselves. Speaking softly, carrying a big stick. Have you ever met someone who feels strong, but not in a loud way? They're calm, maybe quiet, but you know they have a deep power. This feeling touches an old saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. Here's the thing, it means you should be polite and reasonable, but you should also have the strength or resources to back up your words. It's not about being aggressive. It's about having power and choosing not to use it. Your quiet confidence is enough. The big stick isn't about fighting. It's about being prepared, being capable. That way, you don't have to fight. This idea became famous with President Theodore Roosevelt. He used it to talk about how a country should act. He believed if a nation was strong, it could speak peacefully and avoid conflicts. The big stick was its strong navy, its ability to protect itself. But the goal was always peace, through talking. It's like saying, we are strong, so we don't need to shout. Think about someone amazing at math in your class. They could easily brag, but instead, they're calm, willing to help, never boastful. Their big stick is their deep understanding, their ability to solve tough problems. They choose to speak softly, to share knowledge kindly. This allows them to be respected, without needing to prove themselves. So here's what happens. This rule suggests true power isn't about making noise. It's about having inner strength, having the tools. Then, you choose peace. It means you could be gentle because you know you have the ability to handle things. It's a quiet strength, a gentle confidence. It doesn't need to prove anything. You can walk calmly because you know what you're capable of, and others often sense it. The beauty of broken things. Have you ever seen something that was broken, really broken, and then somehow it looked even more beautiful? It might sound strange, but here's the thing. Sometimes, imperfections tell a deeper story. They can show strength, history, and a kind of quiet grace. Think about an old, chipped coffee mug that's been glued back together. You might think it's ruined, but in Japan, there's an ancient art called kintsugi. It's when broken pottery is mended with a special lacquer dusted with gold powder. The gold lines don't hide the cracks. Instead, they highlight them, making the object more precious, more unique, and often more beautiful than it was before it broke. It teaches us that something isn't destroyed by its damage. It can be transformed. It's like a scar on your skin. When you were little, maybe you fell and scraped your knee, or had to get a cut stitched up. For a while, it might have looked raw or ugly, but over time, it healed, leaving a scar. That scar isn't a flaw, it's a memory. It shows you healed. You got through something. It's a mark of your own resilience. So, consider this. What if our own hurts, our disappointments, or the times we didn't get things right, are like those golden cracks, or those quiet scars? They are part of our story, not something to hide away. They don't make us less whole. They show we've lived, we've learned, and we've grown. Sometimes, It's in those mended places that we find our true strength and a deeper, more honest kind of beauty. When winning feels like losing, have you ever chased something really hard, worked for ages to win, only to find the victory felt empty? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like you got what you wanted, but deep down, something feels off, or even sad. This happens when the cost of winning takes away its true value. It's when the path you took to get to the top leaves a trail of regret. Ancient stories tell us about King Pyrrhus. He was a great general who won many battles, but in one famous victory, he lost so many of his own soldiers that he cried out, "One more such victory would utterly destroy me." He won the battle. Yes, he was technically the victor, but the price was so incredibly high, he barely had an army left. For him, that win felt like a crushing defeat. The joy of victory was overshadowed by immense loss and sorrow. Think about it like this for you. Imagine you're in a big school competition, maybe for a presentation or a sports event. You want to win badly, so you decide to cut a corner. Maybe you bend the rules a little, or perhaps you don't share a helpful tip with a friend, even though it would have helped them, and you do it. You win the first place ribbon, the high score, everyone claps. But later, when you're alone with that trophy or grade, how does it feel? Does it feel light and proud, or does a quiet, heavy feeling settle in your chest? Maybe you start to think about what you did, or what you didn't do. The smile fades. The victory seems ... tarnished. It's like eating your favorite meal, but knowing you hurt someone to get it. The taste isn't quite right anymore. So, sometimes, the real victory isn't just about reaching the finish line first. It's also about how you ran the race. It's about keeping your heart clear and your conscience peaceful. Because a win that weighs you down with guilt isn't really a win at all. It teaches us that true success often means being true to yourself, even if it means not getting the loudest applause. The quiet calm of knowing you did your best, in the best way, can be the biggest prize of all. The strength and vulnerability. Have you ever felt like you had to be strong all the time? Like showing any weakness would make you seem weak? It's a common feeling, this idea that strength means being tough, unbreakable. But here's the thing. Sometimes, our greatest power comes from letting go of that idea. It comes from being vulnerable. What does it mean to be vulnerable? It means opening up and showing your true self, even the parts that feel raw or unfinished. It's about being honest about your fears, your mistakes, or when you don't know all the answers. For a long time, people thought true heroes never stumbled. But look at old stories. Even the greatest heroes had moments of doubt. They found their true power not in hiding flaws, but in overcoming them, often with help from others. It takes more courage to admit you need help than to pretend you're fine. Think about a tall tree in a storm. A tree that is too stiff might snap, but one that can bend with the wind, that sways, is more likely to survive. Its strength is in its flexibility, its ability to adapt. In the same way, when you tell a friend you're struggling with a subject, or you're nervous about something new, you're not showing weakness. You're showing real honesty. You're building a deeper connection, and maybe even giving someone else permission to be honest too. So, being vulnerable isn't about being weak. It's about choosing courage. It's about being real. It connects us, like invisible threads, making us all stronger together. When you allow yourself to be truly seen, you invite genuine understanding and a quiet, lasting power that hiding could never offer. It's a deep strength, found in the most honest parts of who we are. Choosing to not choose. Have you ever stood at a fork in the road, where two paths stretch out, and you just stand still? You wait, you delay. Maybe you hope someone else will decide for you, or that the path will somehow choose itself. This feeling, this act of not making a direct choice, actually is a choice. It's a powerful one, even if it feels like a quiet surrender. Here's the thing. When you choose not to choose, you're still guiding your future. You're letting life's currents, or others' decisions, carry you. Thinkers have long thought about this. Ancient philosophers, like the Stoics, talked about accepting what you couldn't control. But they also taught that your reaction, your inner choice, is what you control. So, not picking a path is choosing to let things happen. Think about a school project. Your teacher asks you to pick a role: writer, researcher, presenter. You don't say anything. You just wait. You hope someone takes the hardest job, or you get an easy one. But then, the deadline gets closer. Your group looks at you. Because you didn't choose, someone else steps up and assigns you the part no one wanted. Or maybe you end up with all the leftover work. Not choosing shaped your experience as much as choosing a role would have. It had real results, just different ones. This idea reminds us that silence can be an answer, and inaction, a kind of action. Even when we step back, we're still moving forward, just not on a path we consciously picked. It makes you think, doesn't it? That even quiet indecision shapes who we are and what happens next. And that's why it matters to truly think about what we do and what we don't do. The weight of being light. Have you ever thought how being really light, like a feather, could feel heavy? Sounds strange, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes, having no weight, no clear direction, can be a burden all its own. Imagine a life where nothing truly matters. Every choice seems valid or meaningless. You have no strong opinions, no big responsibilities. You're completely free. You can do anything, go anywhere. That sounds amazing, but with nothing to push against, nothing to hold on to, it can feel like just drifting. For ages, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers wondered if a life without deep purpose or strong beliefs was truly good. Was it better to be heavy, with meaning and mission, even with struggles, or to be light, just flowing, unburdened by hard choices? Some believed too much lightness could be unbearable. It meant never choosing a side, never standing up for anything. You might never truly know yourself. Think about picking a movie. You scroll through hundreds of options. If you have no real preference, no favorite type of story, no gut feeling, it's incredibly hard. You might spend more time searching than watching, and the choice feels random. It doesn't mean much because no inner weight pulled you toward it. So, maybe a little weight isn't bad after all. It's not about being weighed down by burdens. Instead, it's about finding what gives your life meaning and direction. It's having a purpose, a passion, or a strong feeling about something. That kind of weight helps you decide, helps you move forward. It helps you feel grounded, like a kite with a strong string guiding it, not just a balloon floating away. And that's what makes life feel real. Knowing too much, feeling too little. Have you ever learned something so big, so heavy, that your feelings just quieted down? It's a strange thing, isn't it? When we gain a lot of knowledge, especially about the hard parts of the world, sometimes our hearts can feel like they're running on empty. It's like our brain takes in so much information, so many facts, but our feelings can't quite keep up. We know about so much suffering, so many big problems, and it becomes hard to truly feel the weight of each one. Think about people from long ago, like the ancient Greek thinkers. They understood this balance. They believed that wisdom wasn't just about gathering facts in your head. It was also about knowing how to live well, and that meant using your heart. They worried that if someone only chased knowledge, they might become distant, a bit cold, losing touch with what it means to be human and connected to others. It's not about being dumb, but about staying open. Here's an example that might make sense. Imagine you're scrolling through endless news articles or social media feeds. You read about a natural disaster on one screen, then a sad story about injustice on another, then maybe a few more, one after the other. Your mind registers each piece of information. You know these things are happening. But after a while, do you notice how it can all start to blur together? Your feelings might get a little numb. It's not that you don't care, but your brain is trying to protect you from being overwhelmed. It's like your feelings just can't keep absorbing that much sadness all at once. So, maybe real knowing isn't just about what's in our heads. It's also about how we let that knowledge touch our hearts. It's about learning to understand the world, yes, but also learning to keep our empathy awake, even when the truth feels too heavy. It's about letting our knowledge make us kinder, not colder. The price of forgiveness. Have you ever truly thought about what forgiveness costs? People often say it's a gift, a way to heal. And it is. But sometimes, forgiveness comes with a quiet, hidden price. It's not about money. It's something much deeper. Inside us. For centuries, wise people have wrestled with this idea. They knew that letting go of a wrong wasn't always simple. When you forgive, you're not just saying it's okay now. You are also making a big decision about your own heart. This choice can feel heavy. Think about a small cut on your skin. It heals, right? The skin closes up, but often a faint scar remains. The wound is gone, the pain ends, yet that mark reminds you of what happened. Forgiveness can be like that. You might forgive someone who hurt you, letting go of anger. Still, the memory of that hurt might whisper in your mind. This doesn't mean your forgiveness isn't real. It just means the experience changed you. Here's the thing. Forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't mean you forget. And things might not go back to exactly how they were. It's a powerful act, true. It can free you from carrying bitterness. But it also asks you to face the hurt, to see its lasting impact. It asks you to hold the knowledge of what happened, even as you let go of anger or the wish for revenge. So, the price of forgiveness isn't always paid in pain. Sometimes, it's paid in deeper understanding. It's paid in accepting that some things change us forever. It's a brave journey of letting go, while still remembering the lessons. That's a powerful, complex kind of strength. Living in the past, planning the future. Do you ever feel caught in time, looking back at what's already happened, or gazing far ahead to what might be? It's a strange human habit, isn't it? We carry the echoes of yesterday's choices, and we dream of tomorrow's hopes. But here's the thing, our lives actually unfold in this very moment. Right now, we are taught to learn from history, from past mistakes, and we're told to set goals, to work for a better future. These are good rules, but they can pull us in opposite directions. Living too much in past regrets means we get stuck, like trying to walk forward while looking backward. Living too much in future worries means we miss today's beauty, like planning a trip but forgetting to enjoy the journey itself. Ancient thinkers knew this challenge. They spoke of living in the now, understanding the trick of balancing honoring the past with preparing for what's ahead. The only true moment, they'd say, is this one. Imagine a video game. Thinking about a mistake from the last level is living in the past. Worrying about the final boss, forgetting your current levels, power-ups, is living too much in the future. To win, learn from past errors, then focus on playing your best right now. This moment's work builds tomorrow. It's about finding a gentle balance. Hold the past gently. It shaped us, but shouldn't define every step. Dream of the future. Let it inspire, but don't let it pull you away from the ground beneath your feet. The true magic, the real ethical act, is to fully inhabit this moment. Weave lessons from yesterday into what you do right now, creating the future you hope for. This present moment is where all your true power lies. The art of not trying. Have you ever worked so incredibly hard on something, felt your brow furrow, your shoulders tense, and still, the answer wouldn't come? Like trying to force a puzzle piece into the wrong spot, or remember a dream that slips away the harder you grasp for it. Sometimes, the more we push, the more we strain, the more resistance we seem to create. Here's a quiet thought. What if there's a secret, a real art, to not trying so hard? This isn't about giving up, not at all. And it's certainly not about being lazy. Instead, it's about a different kind of wisdom, a softer, more effective way. Imagine a boat on the water. If it fights every wave, it struggles. But if it moves with the current, it glides. Ancient thinkers understood this deeply. They talked about a concept often translated as effortless action, not doing nothing, but acting in a way that feels natural, flowing, like a river finding its path around rocks, without pushing or struggling. It's about releasing the desperate grip, trusting things unfold best when we allow them to, with a gentler touch. Think about trying to balance on one leg. If you stare at your foot, telling yourself don't fall, you often wobble more. But if you look ahead, relax your muscles, and just let yourself balance, your body naturally finds its center. Or consider a seed. It doesn't try to grow, it just grows. It unfolds its potential because the conditions are right, and it doesn't fight its own nature. It's a subtle but powerful shift from forcing to allowing. This way of being, this art of not trying, means understanding that our deepest strength sometimes comes from letting go, not holding on tighter. It's about finding a calm space within, letting life whisper its answers instead of shouting at it with all our might. It's a gentle kind of strength, one that helps us see that in the quiet surrender, in the soft allowance, something truly beautiful can blossom. And that's why this idea really matters. The promise of uncertainty. Have you ever wished that everything in life had a simple, clear answer, like a math problem with just one correct solution? But here's the thing. When it comes to living and making choices, especially ethical ones, things are rarely so neat. Life is often messy, full of shades of gray, and that's where we find the promise of uncertainty. For centuries, thinkers have wrestled with this idea. An ancient Greek philosopher named Socrates was famous for saying he knew one thing, that he knew nothing. He understood that admitting you don't have all the answers isn't a weakness, Instead, it opens up a space for asking deeper questions, a space for truly exploring what's right, even when two good ideas seem to clash. Think about exploring a new place. If you have a map, you know exactly where you're going. But what if you put the map away and just started walking, paying attention to what felt interesting? You might get a little lost. Then, you could stumble upon a hidden park or a cool shop you never knew existed. That unexpected journey, the one filled with not knowing, can lead to incredible discoveries. This is the promise of uncertainty in ethics. When we aren't absolutely sure of the right thing, we pause. We listen more carefully. We think harder. We consider other viewpoints. We don't just follow a rule blindly. Instead, we learn to navigate life's difficult parts with more wisdom, more compassion, and a greater understanding of the human heart. So, maybe it's okay not to have all the answers. Maybe that's where true understanding begins. Finding home, leaving comfort. Have you ever thought about how we grow? Not just taller or stronger, but deep inside, where our thoughts and feelings live. It's a quiet kind of growth, happening all the time. Sometimes, this journey asks us to do something strange. It asks us to let go of what feels safe, what feels like our everyday comfort, even if it's good. To truly find where we belong, to find our real home in the world, we often have to step outside that familiar, cozy space. Imagine a tiny, fragile seed. For it to become a towering tree, it must break out of its hard shell, leaving behind the only world it ever knew, the dark, comforting earth. Or think of a baby bird. It builds a perfect, soft nest, a safe little world. But to truly live, to spread its wings and fly high above the trees, it must eventually leave that nest, even if it feels scary. Ancient stories, from across time and different lands, often tell of this very idea. Think about the hero's journey you might read about. So many tales begin with someone leaving their quiet village, their known world, to go on a big adventure. They leave what's comfortable, not because it's bad, but because something bigger calls to them, a deeper truth or a new part of themselves waiting to be found. They have to journey out into the unknown to find their true self, or their real place in the world. It's a little like when you move from middle school to high school. Your middle school felt like home. You knew everyone, knew the hallways, knew the routine. It was comfortable, predictable. But to grow, to experience new things, to learn more about who you are, you have to step into that new, unknown place. You might feel a pang of sadness for the old, familiar feeling. That's completely natural. But in the new space, you find new friends, new classes, a new part of yourself you never knew existed. You're finding a new home by bravely leaving the old one behind. So here's the thing. Sometimes, growth feels a bit like a gentle paradox. To gain something truly new, truly important, we often have to softly release something old. To become more fully ourselves, we might have to slowly walk away from a part of ourselves that felt safe and secure. It's okay to feel a mix of feelings. When this happens, a little sad for what's gone, and a little excited for what's next. This journey of finding our true home, by gently leaving comfort, is a quiet, ongoing part of growing up. It's how we discover the vast, beautiful landscape of who we really are. The truth in our stories. Have you ever wondered if the stories we tell about ourselves or the world are truly real, beyond just facts, the deep feelings and lessons inside them? Here's the thing. Sometimes, truth isn't just about what happened, it's also about what it means to us, how we understand it. Long ago, people didn't have science books. They told stories, myths, legends, fables, to make sense of the world. These weren't factual like a history book. A tale about a sun god pulling the sun across the sky wasn't literally true, but it held a deeper truth. The sun's importance, its mysterious journey, the wonder of dawn. Thinkers like Plato even said stories, even fiction, could teach us about courage or justice in ways dry facts couldn't. It's about finding truth in the heart of a story, not just its surface. Here's an example. Imagine you and a friend both went to the same concert. You loved the energy, the crowd, the loud music. Your friend might remember the long lines, the spilled drink, and how their favorite song wasn't played. Both of you are telling a true story about the concert, but your truths are different. Your friend's story is real for them, and yours for you. Neither is exactly wrong. Both stories hold a piece of what happened, and more importantly, how it felt. So, When ethical rules seem to contradict each other, maybe the truth isn't about picking one right answer. Maybe it's about understanding the different stories, the different experiences, and the different feelings behind those rules. It's about listening deeply to all voices, even the ones that seem to disagree. Because sometimes, real truth lives not in a single, hard fact, but in the space between all our stories, understood with an open heart. The value of a mistake. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling when you realize you've made a mistake? That wish you could just rewind time, erase it, and pretend it never happened? It's a common feeling, like a tiny shadow falling over us. But here's the thing, what if these moments weren't just bumps on the road, but essential parts of the road itself? What if they were, in a strange and quiet way, gifts? For a long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers, and even great scientists, understood something important. Getting things wrong isn't the end. It's often the beginning of real learning. Think about discovery. Many incredible breakthroughs, from new medicines to understanding how the universe works, didn't happen because someone got it right on the first try. They happened because someone tried, failed, learned, and tried again. Like a sculptor who chips away at stone, removing everything that isn't the statue. Our mistakes show us what isn't the right path. Consider something you might know. Learning to ride a bike. No one just gets on and pedals perfectly. You wobble, you fall, maybe you skin your knee. Each time you stumble, your body learns, your balance shifts. You remember what not to do with the handlebars, or how much force to put on the pedals. And slowly, little by little, your legs find their rhythm, and you glide. The falling wasn't a failure. It was a quiet lesson in balance, a necessary step towards freedom on two wheels. So, maybe a mistake isn't a dead end. Perhaps it's more like a hidden path, leading us to understand something deeper about ourselves or the world. These moments, messy and uncomfortable as they might be, build a quiet strength inside us. They teach us resilience. They whisper about patience, and they remind us that sometimes the most profound wisdom isn't found in being perfect, but in daring to stumble and then finding our way back up, a little wiser than before. Caring less, doing more. Have you ever tried really hard at something and it just didn't work? Like trying to untangle a knot when you're frustrated, or messing up a presentation from worrying. It feels strange, right? This idea, caring less, doing more, isn't about being lazy. It's about changing how we care. It means letting go of intense worry about the outcome. It's about trusting your effort, then letting go of the need for things to be perfect. When we obsess over how something must go, our minds get cloudy and we get stuck. But when we loosen that tight grip, our actions feel lighter, more natural. Long ago, thinkers like the Stoics taught a similar idea. They said focus only on what you can control, your actions, your choices, your effort, and then let go of what you can't, like how others react or the final result. This isn't about not caring. It's about knowing where your real power lies. It means moving without that fear. Think about a basketball player shooting free throws. If they think, I have to make this, their body tenses and their mind races. But if they just focus on the simple movement, the feel of the ball, the shot often flows. It's the same in life. When we stop trying to control details and trust the process, our minds can act clearly. So, this idea is a quiet thought. It suggests that sometimes, to truly do more, we need to quiet that loud voice inside screaming, worry more. Instead, we breathe, trust our own steps, and let our actions unfold with calm strength. It's not about not caring at all. It's about a deep, peaceful trust, letting our abilities shine. And that's a powerful way to live. The edge of right and wrong. Have you ever faced a choice where every option felt a little bit right, and also a little bit wrong? It's like standing on a misty pathway, where the light of good shines from two different directions, and they pull you apart. This is the edge of right and wrong, that thin, blurred line where ethical rules start to bump into each other. Here's the thing. Our world isn't always black and white. Sometimes, two ideas that seem good on their own can clash when put together. It's not about choosing between good and evil, but about choosing between two different kinds of good. This idea isn't new. Long ago, thinkers in ancient Greece wrestled with these puzzles. They knew life was messy, and sometimes, even the noblest intentions could lead to difficult outcomes or create new problems. Think about a secret. For instance, your best friend tells you something deeply personal, something they trust you with completely. You promise to keep it. That promise feels sacred, a bond of trust, and keeping it is absolutely the right thing to do, right? But then, what if that secret reveals your friend is in danger, or planning something that could hurt them, or someone else? Now, you have two rights pulling you apart. Keeping your promise is one kind of right, but helping your friend, protecting them, or preventing harm, that's another, very strong kind of right. Which one do you honor? This is not easy. It's that uneasy moment when two good things contradict each other, making you pause and wonder, what's truly best? There isn't always one easy answer in these moments. Sometimes, the right path isn't clear, and finding your way means listening closely to your own heart and trying to understand all the different feelings and impacts. It's about stepping carefully, knowing that even good choices can carry a silent weight, and learning to live with the quiet wisdom of those complex decisions. Learning from not learning. Have you ever thought about how much we truly learn? Not from getting something right, but from when we miss the mark, or when we simply choose not to learn a vital lesson. It might seem strange, but sometimes the deepest understanding comes not from what we grasp, but from the quiet, even uncomfortable space where understanding isn't yet. It's about seeing the powerful impact of not learning, of what happens when we avoid a truth or overlook something important. Think about ancient thinkers, like Socrates. He was famous for saying he knew nothing at all. But this wasn't about being ignorant. It was about truly realizing how vast the world was and how much there was not to know. That very moment of understanding his own limits was a huge, deep step in becoming wise. It made him question everything, always seeking deeper truths, and that humble search for what he didn't know was his most powerful way of learning. He knew that pretending to have all the answers stopped real wisdom from growing. The biggest mistake was often believing you already knew enough. Here's how this works in our everyday lives. Imagine you're building a tricky Lego castle or a complex model. You try putting pieces together, and some just don't fit. They keep popping off, or they make the whole structure feel wobbly. Each time a piece doesn't work, you're learning something crucial. You learn about the wrong way to connect them, about the shapes that don't match up. And by figuring out all the ways it can't be built, you slowly start to see the one right way. That not fitting tells you a powerful story about the actual structure you need to create. It's a lesson born from absence. So, sometimes, the path to true wisdom isn't a straight, easy line of constant success. Instead, it's often a winding road marked by things we misunderstood, or truths we simply overlooked. It's in those quiet, reflective moments, when we step back and see what was missing, or what we refused to grasp, that a new, profound insight can gently emerge. It's about finding light in the very shadows of our past mistakes, or in the places where we were once blind, leading us to a clearer, more honest way to move forward.